out of it.
Recording in progress.
Just switch over there.
Right, on Zoom too.
I'll be like,
We got that on,
Yeah.
Is that-
Anyone-
that's Ben's thing. Okay.
we are there.
We got Ray. Okay.
That emergency order ended, so all committee members have to take personal order vote.
So that's going back to what I said, 9 people should be in there. That was-
Yeah.
So are we live right now?
We are, yeah. How come we can't see us?
That's videos.
Oh, that would be why.
There we
Hello.
are. Hello, folks. It's 6:30. I'd like to call this meeting of the Charter Review to order. I didn't print my agenda. I'm gonna shoot from the hip. And I'm going to ask Sarah to take the role because I don't see Mike on Zoom.
Oh, gosh.
Uh,
So if you
He
remember,
did-
remember all the
he did-
names.
He did say he was gonna try. He sent me an email and he also sent some,
I think Mike's away. My husband actually
yeah.
told me that today.
but he did send me an email about minutes, so. At our next meeting, we can take care of all of the minutes. So-
All right, so Robert Brennan,
Oh, I got it, right here.
Here.
okay, Scott Copley,
Here.
Scott Guthrie.
Here.
Jim Humphrey,
Here.
Brad Mayer,
Here.
Ben Para,
Here,
myself here, Michael Stevens is absent, and Ted Tracy.
Here.
All right,
Ray Angel.
quorum is declared.
Ray is on
Zoom.
Zoom.
I am.
So, yeah, we like to record that you're here, so, item 3 is the emergency evacuation procedures, so that alarm ring, we go out this door, which leads directly outside. Did anyone get a chance to read the minutes of June 22nd?
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any corrections? Are there any people that need to abstain from? Were you here for that?
I was,
Okay. So if there are no corrections, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes of
Second.
June 22nd.
Second. Motion's made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So.
Aye.
Okay. I did speak with Ben and I kind of. I wanted to go through, use the same agenda as the last time we had our meeting Sunday night. So polling questions, result additions, continuation, I think it's over. They did get a scant amount, in the last. In the last posting of it. So. Let's go to section 81 through 859, Jim.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll just hit in some highlights from my notes that I took here from the meeting. Because I think that's what's important here, right? Is, I kind of designated as a maybe after speaking, presenting to the town council. And went back and forth on a few things. And what I noted, and kind of what I put some notes with the town council had questions. That was Jamie LeBlanc in particular, had concerns about, can you still level fund? And you can, but I think we may need to be more specific. Because we said you could level fund from the previous year. But it didn't discount, and he was right. You could just grab a whole bunch of money from the municipal budget and put it in the school. I think we need a guardrail for that. I don't think you can allow, I don't think we can allow that. Level funding is level funding. Municipal
Across the
school
board.
level funding. You can't
You can't do a $10 million change from the town to the school. So I would say if we put something in like we have for
Right.
the school, we say you can't go below the previous year's appropriation. I think if we use the same language on the town side.
That's
But-
in the state law anyway.
But that's
No,
already,
no, no, the school is, the town is
School,
not.
but the town.
Right.
The town, let me put it this way.
Jamie's thinking was saying, somebody could say, move $3 million from the municipal budget and put it in the school budget with a petition. And the way it's written right now, you could do that. And I don't think we want to level funding
But
is,
you
the
can't.
municipal stays the same, school stays the same.
but you can't because that's that 4%.
No.
It's both
So, no,
budgets.
so-
But
Okay.
If you took the same, a certain amount of money out of municipal and moved it over to school, you're not changing the levy.
But you are not the levy, but you're changing the school budget
Yep.
by more than the 4%.
That's not how it's tied.
Not necessarily.
No, no, no. The
Not necessarily.
school, the town tax levy cannot be increased by more than 4%. It's not the budget. So if they wanted to add $3 million to the school budget right now, out of fund balance, they could do that. They just can't raise taxes by 5% and give all the money to the schools. The schools also have the state law that says you can't drop below your previous year town appropriation. So if we put in basically the same language that says any petition on the town side can't reduce the town appropriation to the below the previous years, that now protects both sides. So
Yeah,
you
I
can
think that's a
cut
good
back
simple
to
solution.
where you
Mhm.
started, which is your equivalent to your level funding budget.
I mean,
Yeah.
budget increases and tax levies sometimes go hand in hand. It depends on how much
Right.
how much it is. It's just that he made a good point. And I have an example. I literally, there's templates and things that need to go with these petitions so people understand the math. But if you just had remember the budget that the town council presented, and they increased multiple items by, say, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5% from the previous year, and you back out the 2%, 4%, 5%, 3%, that's level funding it
Right.
from the previous year. If you, instead of doing that, just say move municipal to here, the bottom line is level funded for the overall budget still.
Right.
Well, we don't want that to happen. That would be,
Mm-hmm.
you could dismantle the town government.
Yeah,
I think
you
that's an
could-
important guardrail. to
yeah.
have.
Yeah,
So-
and I think Jamie
Yeah.
made a good point.
Because you could
Right.
get 3 council people on there to say, oh, all right, well, we're gonna move, if they favor one side to the other, they could start moving stuff over, and then now the municipal side's gonna suffer.
Because there's no guarantee that the municipal has to get the same appropriation, so they're right, the petition could take money out of the town. Infinitive up till whatever the total appropriation was and move it to the school, you can't do it going the other direction.
All you have
So-
to do is eliminate lateral change.
No. Lateral change is okay, as long as it doesn't go below the
What?
previous year. So let's say, right
What's
now,
gonna
I don't know, I wish I had a copy of this year's, the latest budget proposal, but I think
Mhm.
it was roughly $1.3 million more
Okay,
in
have it
tax
here.
revenue was going to the school and roughly 1 million was going towards the municipal side. You can take from that up to whatever the increase in town appropriation and go to the school. You can go from the school to the town. But as long as you can't go below what the town or the school got in the previous year. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So I think
Right.
that's what we need to add,
Yeah.
is that both town and the school.
Yeah, so I
cannot
thought it was
go
good. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good point. It's an easy fix.
Yeah.
It's an easy.
Basically the
fix.
same language that we have on the school side, we put on. the-
Right.
We make it for
Bottom
both
line.
of them.
Yeah, so I thought that made
So it
sense.
locks it up. So-
Yeah. So you can file a petition to get back to level funding to 0% increase. But you can't move money around that decreases either side below. it.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
So it was a good point. There's, you never know. It could happen.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like,
There you
no,
go.
we hate
Right.
government. We're gonna remove the whole municipal. And it could happen. We don't want that to ever happen. They had concerns about 2% of the electors, 500 signatures for the Councilor Ludwig in particular, but it should be lower. We had a big conversation about this.
Mhm.
I think South Kingstown was 200, North Kingstown is like 3%. I have a whole spreadsheet that I shared with them. It's generally pretty high for the most part. I think South Kingstown is actually the
I thought they
outlier.
were on the lowest end, but I have also only had one in the last 10 years,
Yeah.
so.
And we thought 200 signatures, somebody could get that pretty quickly. I don't know why she said she had a tough time getting 50 signatures. I've done hundreds before myself, so I'm kind of surprised to hear that, honestly.
I think it
I'm
was-
thinking we could meet in the
I
middle,
think the
maybe.
point that was being made is that in order to get 50 valid signatures, you have to go out. and
You have to get more
75.
than,
Because they have to verify them,
Right, because they all have.
or they're
registered voters.
eligible.
Yeah.
So when you're saying, 500, you're actually talking 500, 600 maybe.
That's a good
In order
point.
to be able to get that.
But else, and that, she did
So they can be
mention that,
certified.
right,
and that's a
Right.
good point, but she also wanted to make this more palatable. Because that's gonna be, these numbers will be seen, and it should be seen on the ballot, and that could be, so I'm kind of thinking 350 maybe is still, I would never want to go down to 200, I would never want to do
I would
that.
say 300.
So some of the feedback that I received with the presentation as far as the budget goes, and I wanted to bounce this off of you. What about removing the signature requirement for the initial petitions, not for you know, the over 300,000, but if people wanted to come to like the public hearing, so to speak, and say, you know, I think you should add $1,000 to this, or take
They-
20,000 away from that without having to gain the signatures.
Ben brought that up, and in an email to me, we went back and forth on that. They can do, we're still gonna have 2 public hearings.
Excuse me, everybody, 1 second. You guys went off video for some reason.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, we are.
Yes, yeah.
there, let's see if it went off.
How come it went off? I wonder. That's very strange.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good question. Ben and I were better, I mean, we're still retaining a lot of the public input opportunity of public hearings. For those people who like to walk up to the microphone
Right.
and say something, they can still do that. And it may impact, you know, the budget process. But after that, and after a provisional budget, there's a lot of people who are gonna be very comfortable. I like the idea, it's a document that the town council will receive. 20 signatures shows, I've got some grassroots support on this thing too.
No,
Makes it a little more,
and
I think we handle both of them. I think they can still, in a public hearing, ask for something.
I think that the feedback that I received, I think, was that they wanted to simplify the process a little bit more. Is kind
Just-
of, and they felt like it was maybe, if you can't explain the whole process in less than 2 minutes, that the general public isn't gonna get it, I think is really. So they were looking for different ways and maybe.
I would challenge them to explain the current process in less than 2 minutes.
I mean, it really is,
In all honesty, this is
Yeah.
much simpler and much more straightforward than the current
mean-
process.
it's 2 petition opportunities.
Right.
That's really it.
And also with the petitions, number one,
Good
you
point,
get an
Doug.
official answer. It's one thing to walk to a microphone and say, I'd really like you to consider adding money for
Right.
this. Thank you very much. Okay, we have 20 or more people who have signed a petition for you to consider adding money for this. Now you have to actually respond.
Let me share something too that might be helpful.
Document.
Okay.
But couldn't it also be left up to the council to decide whether they want to use a certain amount of signatures? In other
Not
words,
fit
you know,
by the
they,
charter.
you know, well, you know, they can amend what we send them,
They could.
They
yeah,
could,
they
yeah.
absolutely
and they could write something competing.
They could write, yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, is the amount of signatures better? Better served by having the council make that
Mhm.
decision? You know, we can leave it the way that it is,
Yeah, we could.
and like I said, they have the opportunity to. Take a look at it and discuss it amongst themselves and say,
Right.
well, you know, maybe 350, maybe 400, or, you know, whatever. And whatever they're comfortable with, and they seem it's gonna work, but I'll agree with Ted that this is a document.
Yeah,
And someone, you know, someone that goes up to a microphone might well be recorded. You know, maybe not through video. I know they do video a lot of things,
right.
but there's actually nothing that really is a form that asks. A legitimate question, and it's on paper.
Then maybe we get rid of the signature requirement on that part of it. The 20 signatures. I don't know.
I think the signatures are important because it indicates that you do have support for it. And it's not Bob Brennan going up with a formalized piece of paper
Right.
requesting something. And then having Jim Humphrey go up with another piece of paper. You know, it's
It's a pretty small number.
20
I agree
signatures is
with
not
it,
hard
and
to
I
get.
understand the process that you put forward. I think it's great. Because I've been around municipal government and working intricately with the budget process myself for 9 years, but I definitely have concerns that the average citizen who really isn't involved in the government, which is most sadly,
Yeah.
might not.
They
It might,
see that as
it might be,
a deterrent, maybe.
right, it
Right.
might be a little more complicated for them, but
But again, then the whole form process for getting the signatures, it's the explanation of what has to be done
right,
and the tasks. And if you are involved enough to want to make alterations in the town budget, you really should have a fair understanding of what you were doing as far as making an alteration. If you're making a suggestion during the budget preparation period, that's a whole different thing. You go up to the microphone or you put up whatever suggestion you want. Okay, the town council does not need to include that. They don't have to consider it. They don't have to vote on it. This is something, and I think the feedback that Jim got from the other towns, if I recall, was very positive, that this was
Right.
very helpful to the council. Because you do have
in paper.
You do have it on paper. You do have, somebody went out and made a certain amount of effort to make sure that this came across in front of the council. Okay,
Just adds
it's-
legitimacy to.
Right, there's a certain.
If I could share something else too, that might be helpful. I mean, South Kingstown Town Clerk said line item petitioning is helpful. She kind of hated the referendum because it was a lot of work. It was
Yeah.
the
But
larger
she's only had to
referendum.
do one and
She's only
not-
gonna do one though.
I do a
So
referendum every
this is,
year.
Yeah, yeah.
this is their form. And then they have to get the signatures, is
Right.
what they intend to do. And this is actually
Is this for
their,
both of them?
so then at the regular session,
No, I
I
understand.
just wanna-
the
I just
process. I'm
wa-
just kind of sharing the feedback that I
Mhm.
received,
Okay. Mhm.
and I'm trying to, try to put our heads together to get something that.
Mm-hmm. No, no,
council's
understood.
Actually gonna say, yep, we can get behind, so.
but because you go to the microphone. They take notice of what you might say. Some people are very vocal and love to
Yeah.
be in front of the microphone. Some people hate it and are afraid to even go near that microphone, which is probably most people. So this is an example of a regular session where there were 5 petition line items that they were part of the session. That they literally read through and voted on in the council. So, really it wasn't just, well, we heard you. And I got an email and a social media thing. They got a document, it was the reason why and the amount, and they went through and voted on it. They voted everyone down, by the way. In this
But
example,
no, I do
but
like the fact that they have to vote on it. when they
Yeah.
decide that.
we could, I'm amenable to lowering the number of signatures, but I think my opinion is there should be some. We were at 10 at one point, remember?
Yeah, it should be more than a single household.
That was where we were at.
I think it's-
It
it's
could be your
really
neighbors,
possible.
just,
Yeah.
pretty easy get, and that's,
I mean, you can walk in my neighborhood anyway, you'd be able to walk around and do that in an afternoon.
Right.
and
But
get the
I-
signatures.
I agree with you. Somebody was listening in, it was a lot to digest.
Right,
I try to boil it down. That's why the ballot question will be very important. It's just 2 petition opportunities. You can directly in writing request to change the budget, not just, hey, I don't like that,
Yeah.
change
All
that.
night thing.
Yeah, and then, the counselors take note of that, and it's recorded, and they look at it, and they probably get email and other suggestions as well. It just gives them a formal opportunity. They'll certainly get a lot of daylight,
right.
I think. But
And one of the things I
the
think,
signature thing is a big deal.
Yeah. and one of the things that we really need to bear in mind is that the end goal of this process is to have a budget,
Correct.
one way or the other. So in my mind, that's more important than number of signatures
Right,
Or-
and I think that's
or
what.
anything
Correct.
along those lines. I
Agreed.
think that's
one thing
the,
comes out of this
that's the
budget.
prize that we need to keep the eye on.
This is the big one. This is the big kahuna. And I
So-
feel like I don't wanna put forth something that the council's gonna say,
So here's the thought. Right now, the process is, and they're going through it, they have workshops. They have public people that go up and they speak and they'd like to see changes. Not, this is long before, financial town meeting. But what would stop, 80 people from going up and saying, I want a petition to change this without any kind of a control measure
so maybe
over
we,
it?
like you say, maybe we lower the amount of signatures to 10. So it can't just be your household.
I'm amenable to that. We went back and forth on that too. The other towns that do this, they're 50, 50, 50, and 25. The ones that do it, but I'm amenable to that. I think that's good, and I think 300's fine. I don't, because we're back and forth on that. 300 would be probably like 10 towns that do any kind of petitioning, by the second lowest. And we have more population than all the other towns combined, not combined, but comparatively speaking.
Mhm.
I put their number of electors on a spread.
When
that
you
same
say
spreadsheet.
feedback, is it feedback from the council or from the general public?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yeah,
Just
people who
wanted
may
to
have
double check.
listened.
Okay.
So,
But I think you should keep it as a percent and work out whatever that percent is based on
Yeah.
the current population. Because that's the future proofing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's better left up to the council because they're talking about signatures on, for running for office.
Mhm.
And I think one of them was that I have to get 50 signatures to run for office. And I have to work 6 months putting a budget together. And somebody has to get 20
I can't put,
signatures.
could even put a range
To
in.
change all the work that I did. So I think it was kind of like,
Or
legitimate.
leave it blank.
Or leave it blank.
I thought it was
That's where I
actually a
was going
request to
with that.
increase the amount.
Leave it blank and let them determine.
Well,
the
we
number.
want to give them some kind of guidance. They're looking to us. We did
Oh,
all, we did
put
all.
it in
homework.
as a recommendation
Yeah.
for the numbers and let them deal with it as a recommendation, not
Yeah,
a hard and
and then
fast
now it's,
thing.
now it's kind of gives them a little bit of like, all right, they recommend this, what can we,
Yeah.
what do we want to do? So it kind of,
Yeah, you like this general process?
yeah,
Yeah, you make a
Okay,
good point.
You
One-
want to fine tune it to the numbers that you want?
If you notice, the town council was constantly being told by the solicitor, and so you guys can change this, you know. Because I didn't think they knew that.
Right.
They were like, this is it, you know, this is what we have to vote on. No, this is an excellent thing to adjust and compromise on, I think.
I
So-
think so. I just think that if we want a chance of getting something before the voters, that we need to time just a little bit.
I mean, I like the idea of putting 10 and 300 on as,
I think-
as our recommendation. I don't- I don't- I don't
Number two
fault
is that
that.
we have lowered threshold, but we can leave it open for them if they want to tweak that to
yeah.
Yeah.
percentage or whatnot, but I think we
Want
need
to
to. get
lower,
it
or
done.
you just want to send it as it is and then let them.
No, I want to lower it
I'm gonna
because
lower it to, yeah,
they-
I'm fine with that.
let's see if there was pushback on the number 500, so or number 2%. So I think we need to at least
So like,
adjust it.
kind of adjust it for you if you
Like
feel
we
you
made
want to adjust it
adjustments before.
more.
If you want to go with
Yep, go ahead.
something different or more, you know,
If this goes to the voters and the voters pass it, it could be a document that lasts for 100 years.
But
So the thought of a percentage is probably
For the,
is better, is
for
better.
the larger referendum, the other one would be 10.
Yeah, So,
Put a little-
like I said,
Gotta have a little skin in the game.
it's a document that's. Because we're hoping that gets, gets on the ballot and the voters pass it and say, and the council gets to use it, but. Councils, long after you and I are gone, are probably gonna. If it's done correctly, they're probably gonna use it. for a
And as you
very long
said,
time,
the
too.
town, the percentage is important. The town is growing. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, my wife and I do real estate together. And, you know, I was on Big River Road. I don't know if you've seen that new road.
Oh,
You
yeah.
go to see the model home down there, the $1 million house. They're building $10 million
That's
house.
what you want, right?
Yeah, that's quite the area. It's a nice street too. Okay, the other thing, with regards to the
You know what,
notice,
I forgot to ask, Brad, do you have any input on this?
oh yeah, Brad was a key part of this too. See that?
The only thing I was gonna mention is I believe in our subcommittee meetings, we did mention about trying to put in a floor for the municipal side as well. So I agree, we need to put in language for that. Like the previous year's budget is the floor for it can't go below that.
Yeah,
So,
good.
but I agree with the lowering of the amounts and presenting that to the council.
Cool.
And they could still, they could do whatever they
Yeah.
want, they could add, or, that'll be a discussion that they can have amongst themselves.
It's a big deal.
And if it's,
But like I said, after,
sit back, hold on.
Technically with open meetings right now, no one can vote via Zoom. Or I'd be on Zoom. All night.
with a wink and a smile. Okay,
Give me a little
So-
guidance here.
Well, I mean, if,
I made a promise to everyone, so.
right, you really want, I know, you really want all the votes,
Yeah.
and you know what, if Brad so chooses, the
We can,
executive
he can
order
vote, he can stage his vote, even if it's not official.
It becomes his opinion. as
we're
opposed
missing
to-
Mike, we're missing Mike.
If the meeting is allowed to be convened via Zoom, the vote should count over Zoom. I don't have any problem voting over Zoom.
So you can have Zoom option for the public, but you can't have it for a sitting board member anymore. Unfortunately, the executive order that allowed that has expired and they didn't renew it.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
Are you stuck at home? But Mike
Oh,
doesn't-
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
know.
Mike doesn't get a
So,
say.
we're gonna have to meet again.
Yes, we are.
So, maybe we just talk through the other things and then
Okay,
we
let's-
take
yeah,
the
let's-
official vote on the
yeah.
next time.
Yeah, we
we
can
have to meet.
do the
Because
votes.
I've had some
And we-
communications from the council too, so.
Yeah, because we're gonna get, they have Q and A due to us by the 5th
Right,
that we have to respond to, and maybe not the 6th, but maybe with all the stuff going on, we could do via
I'll
email.
remind you that we have until the 14th.
Trying to work.
Just if you wanted to, can I just jump in for a second? To Sarah's point, which she beat me to it, but if you want to still do your vote with the people that are there and indicate that Brad was in the affirmative but isn't counted in the final vote, I think that would be okay. Just as an indication.
And we have Mike.
Right. Yeah, which he wouldn't have a vote. that all depends, I guess, on whether or not you can get all 9 people together one more time.
I just,
Right.
you know,
I know.
I'm kind of stuck here, because
Okay.
I don't want to break a promise.
Well, I think before we go into that, can we, and any further, because I think it's gonna have a bearing, can we just go over what
Continue
the
moving-
title,
moving along.
well, I want to go over what our final timeline guidance was.
Yeah. I
Okay, and so
think this is,
seeing that I have my golden paper clips again,
Oh, you always come through.
pass those around. This is from my notes on it. The one that's in red is, looks to me like it would be a meeting that we would have to have that is not been scheduled at this point in time. And I'm willing to switch it from a Wednesday to a Thursday if that accommodates people. I have no problem with that, but I put Wednesday because we normally meet on Wednesdays. We had our meeting on Monday. Wednesday is tonight's meeting in which we're going over the proposals and amending documents based on the feedback that we got. The town council has a deadline of Thursday, the 5th, Tuesday of the 5th, to submit any further questions to the town manager, which are to get forwarded to us, which is why we would actually need a meeting in there someplace because we would have to review those. The deadline for our responses, from what I got, was Monday, July 11th. And
Wow.
then
This is the council's president's orders to us, correct?
this is,
Correct.
these are from the notes that I took.
Yeah.
You know, she was talking very quickly. So whether or not I got everything, this is why I want
I have the same,
everybody
I have
to,
the same thing you have.
okay. I just wanted to make sure we're all looking at the same timetable. And I'm a terrible note keeper and she was talking quickly.
Yeah, and to your point, Sarah, too, what was the 18th? Was the 18th
That's their next meeting.
a joint session? Their next meeting?
I don't think that was clear.
That was
It
not-
wasn't
that was
clear to
The
me
18th
either.
is there, what I got out of that was, that's when they're gonna vote on it.
Mhm.
Is this, I'll just throw, are we still talking about the section 8?
No,
We took a side trip, Ray. This is, we're going over what the timetable was that Ann gave us at the beginning.
Okay,
Just to make sure we're all on the same page with the dates and what has to be done.
for when these changes get made, that's what,
Right, we had dates that she gave us at the beginning of the presentations, and these are from my notes, the dates that.
no, I understand. I just want to make sure that we're not somehow drifting into new business in a way.
No, this is really clarification, so we know whether or not, in the case of trying to get everybody to be able to vote. Okay, when we have people that are not present. Can we defer this? Do we have time to defer this before we go through everything else? So we're kind of deciding that question first.
I got you.
Those dates match up with what I have too. The town council wanted our responses to their questions by the 11th, and then they were gonna take their formal votes on all of our items on the 18th.
The town council president wanted that, no?
Yes,
but
Okay, we're missing
Well-
one thing. She also said that there can be no changes and no additions.
She said that there can be
Changes, but
no
no new
new.
items.
no new items.
Yeah, so whatever we discussed on the Monday night, nothing else can be added to that. So what we have, what we presented, just,
So we can amend.
yeah,
amend.
those
There are a couple-
specific things, yeah.
Yeah, what's missing here, and Ray's probably gonna hear this, when is our final report due? That is the
That
date
would be
that's not
Monday,
here.
the
Monday, the
Yeah,
11th.
I think that's the deadline they want, so that
So
Monday,
that way they have
15th,
1 week.
they can vote on everything.
Makes sense.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
My understanding,
our best bet is to plan on that.
Plan on
Okay.
making final
ready
votes
for it?
on the 6th. We put it, there we go.
We're making some changes tonight that I think we can easily
Yeah.
get through
I think it'd be
and
difficult.
put down. So that it's ready for that date. And even with the holiday in there, I don't see any real problem with that. We're not having new discussion, we're not having new proposals. We're just fine tuning based on the feedback that we have. I don't see a problem with that deadline.
I made a call,
Yeah, I
to
agree.
speak with the council person and there were things that she brought up that I wanted to address, and it really doesn't add or change or do anything other than what we talked about. One of them was, and we talked about it and it kind of like languished, and it was about changing the appointment of the solicited to the town council.
Well, they can add that as a proposal if they want. It doesn't need to be in our report. It wasn't in our report.
They can, but I drew it up.
Okay.
There was another thing, term limits. I'm not a fan of it. But I think that we can
We
put it
should
in there.
probably discuss all this stuff like.
Okay,
a little
next,
bit later
okay.
on.
I'm going
Okay,
off track
yeah,
here.
we'll get back. Okay, I think we know the dates.
Old business was next. I mean, on next on old business, so we're done with you?
No,
or
a
not?
couple more things, just so we agree. There was concern about the work of the Board of Canvassers. I didn't get a chance to tell them. I talked to Lori at the Board of Canvassers. You know, she handles, I said, worst case scenario, you get 2 petitions, 1,000 signatures. She said she can do it in 5 to 10 days, explained how she does it. But what she does when she needs to expedite things, she brings in temporary help. So they don't have to hire people to do it. She can bring in temporary help to match signatures. And the last thing, we talked about unfunded mandates a lot. I don't know whoever talked about that around this table, but again, the one thing I'll just reframe, and I think it ties in some other things, is the mailing. I mean, I'll just frame that as electors need to be notified. This is the level of detail they should be notified with. And however they do it, it's up to them to do it.
Yeah, I think mandating that they have to do their due diligence and notifying. is definitely
Yeah.
important.
So we can frame the level of the content and what it is and leave it at that. And
I thought that was a good solution
Peter?
on it because it does future proof it.
Right.
Media change.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, you know, if you've got the level of detail that you need for a budget, I think mailing is the only way to get it out,
Right.
you know, properly. However, 5 years from now, that may change.
And I think they are mailing for the special election coming.
Wasn't
up.
that ironic that they were doing that?
Ironic that
And I
we
think
don't-
they are. I don't think that
But mail may not be the same.
it might not be the
Fine.
need next
There
year.
may be better media to put that type of information out in and
But-
just future proofs. Which
but
is one of the
the-
concerns.
The independent article that asks them to do it twice a year, and I'm in favor of mandating it for this reason, and I think I told you all before that. What would stop a council person from saying, I just don't feel like doing it?
But
We're
I do,
we're gonna get to that one.
Right.
We should follow what we
All right,
want to do.
okay, okay.
We're gonna get to that. I got notes on that.
I'm glad that the council, appropriated money to mail this.
Mm.
And it covers them, and I think it probably is in the taxpayers' best interest, and they're gonna say, wow, they're really actually doing something for me, and I
So we
appreciate
will turn
that.
up.
Yeah, in the middle, late July. June and
What's
July
that?
are like worst times to do anything. I'll never forget a school committee, special election. I was there all day campaigning. We had 20 people show up.
Oh,
I had a catch
man.
with the other guy. We played baseball. Anyhow, okay. Carry on. Those are all my notes. Yes, on that item.
Okay, section 306 and 403, Ted.
Okay, council appeared to like this proposal. Pretty much all around, they seem to be okay with the 30 days, because that way it gets stuff done. The only change that I have made to this on the feedback from Council LeBlanc, and I wrote this up, sent it to Ray. Ray gave me some editorial changes. I apologize that I did not forward this out to everyone because I was waiting for Ray to get back to me one more time just to make sure I copied it correctly, but I will read the addition that I've added, same in both. The vacancy shall be advertised in one or more forms of media accessible to the general public, seeking applicants to fill the vacant position, and no person shall be considered for appointment until at least 7 days from the date of advertisement has passed. So basically, there is a requirement that it be advertised. It is not specific on what advertisement. That way, whatever happens in the future, anything is available, but something needs to be done. And it leaves a minimum holding period to allow people to see it, read it, respond to it before any consideration is made.
So my only concern with that would be the 30-day thing. So from my perspective as a town clerk, I'm also the board canvassers clerk too in Westworth. I do both, right? So
Town.
I do it all. So from my perspective, right, a vacancy comes in or a resignation,
Yep.
okay, and now you want me to advertise it. How long do you want me to advertise it for?
At least a week.
Okay, how many days do you think it's gonna take for me to get that into the newspaper? If I call the Kent County Times right now.
Yep.
When's the earliest they're gonna run it for me?
Right.
That's pushing it. So it's usually like 3 to 4 days. That they,
For a paid ad.
or paid at. Oh yeah, I give Kent County Daily Times a lot of money every day. I definitely pay the tellers, but, so logistics, I'm just trying to work this through. So we're, best case scenario, the person resigns, council accepts their resignation or whatever, and we're already talking, we could be 10 days out. And then you're talking about another week to advertise after that. So now we're talking like maybe I fulfill that requirement 3 weeks into the process, 21 days. But now the council's gonna want to interview the candidates that come in, right?
Mhm.
They need to post an agenda, which is 48 business hours. In order to do that, after they've received all the applications. So I just think the 30-day deadline is gonna be impossible for them to make.
45 more amenable?
45 might be, yeah, because then you're talking that you've given them a couple weeks to get the advertising out, because they're not even gonna get a response until. Just,
I mean, like I said, going in, I was amenable to going
Yeah.
as far as 60. I wanted to keep it, I think wanted more on the shorter end was the feedback we got. If 2 extra weeks allows for the advertisement and builds
they
it
get
in,
it done
I,
in 30, great,
So you can even say, or the appropriate time it needs, because
right,
what we discovered too with timelines is we can only do the best we don't know
right.
every detail.
That's why I
That'll get,
think I
that'll
should
get
give them
ironed out on
more
its own.
Yeah.
That's what they have to do to implement stuff.
So, and you can put that in the way we've been talking with other documents.
Yeah, 'cause it's
not-
hard.
Not to
You're
exceed
absolutely right. I mean,
45 days,
It's not
60
simple.
days.
Yeah, so it
Whatever.
gives them a leeway. So instead of doing a hard date, it's a kind of a soft date,
yeah,
like.
no, I think,
kind
I
of-
think it is worded, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
so.
right wording, so it's flexible.
I know, it's, well, we break it.
Right.
So
I think that the more that we can get-
I think,
But
does
still
45
pretty-
seem like a good number then too?
I think it's fine, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you want to
Okay.
leave it completely open.
Right,
But I just
I-
think you want to make it attainable.
You want to move it along. Yeah.
Okay,
And if they-
I'll update that to
yeah, if they
45,
wanna
if that's our
tweak it a little bit
consensus,
more,
and,
They can make it 50 or 60 on there and if they tweak it,
yeah, they
but
really.
that's-
Okay,
But I think the spirit of not wanting to leave it vacant for a long period of time.
it's
should
still,
be in
yeah,
there. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And they like that. They resounded like.
Oh, yeah.
that's right.
They like.
They say they like it,
They were
That's
liking
all.
that. That was one thing I thought that was like the bulb went on. All their heads were like, yeah, we like that.
Yeah.
They all
Because
kinda
they've
agreed
had
on
a struggle with that.
Yeah.
That's why.
So I just think logistically from staff perspective,
Okay.
I think. it would be
Then
good to
I'll
give a
make the
little
change to 45.
They asked the question, when does the clock start to begin, unless you ask the question, when does the clock start with a vacancy? That should probably be in there. It'd be good to know, since everybody was asking.
It's when the, what did they say
I
last thing?
think it's when
They
the
said when
town
the
clerk
clerk-
receives a written document to resignation.
Yeah,
I know higher level politics, the person that goes to initials and notes the
It'd be
time.
good to have
that's
it in
when
there,
it's
though,
set.
then we
But-
wouldn't have to guess.
It is, and that's the other thing, so if someone came in and resigned tomorrow. I still have to, so even if I receive it, the council might not officially know about it. Like, for instance, my council's up meeting again till July 12th, so if
Yeah.
someone resigned tomorrow. I mean, I obviously would email everyone and
Hey,
let them
yes, yeah.
know, but the council doesn't meet again until the 12th of July to,
Right.
start a process of. So it's just little things to think about logistically.
Yeah,
We might
sure.
want to give some flexibility.
Okay. Yeah, to get it done sooner.
These are all of Jamie's.
Huh?
These are all of Jamie's, notes to us.
Okay,
Is that what these are?
that's what this is.
Is
I
that
don't know,
what
Ben
this is?
handed it to me.
What's that? No, those are my
from
notes.
Bob.
Oh, okay.
We were a little confused because there was not a golden paperclip on it.
Oh, there
It
was.
was.
Yeah,
It was- you go
Right.
there.
actually, no.
Next item.
Okay, I've got one question for you, Ted.
Yep.
Okay, and this is gonna
Mr. Thorpe.
pretend to some of the other things further down. that-
Okay.
That were also brought up. The wording that you're using is going to be by and large the same for both the school and the town side.
They are identical with the
With the
exception that
exception of the.
one
of
is the town
term.
council. I did, I know Counselor Lima, I think. Referenced Cranston, in which the school committee picks the school committee rep, town council has their process. Our current charter right now, it's the town council that picks both. I'm still in favor of keeping that as the head of government to make the final decisions, so that's why
Oh,
I'm
good
leaving it
question.
as it is.
Okay,
And
but
unless-
other potential wording changes would be whether or not the town council term goes from 2 years to 4 years to 2 years.
Mhm.
And then,
If it's written there, that text is the same way, so even if it's 4-year terms as it is right now. If a counselor, let me, who's not.
but basically what I'm saying is if it
Change,
stays
uh,
at 4
okay.
years. The language would read exactly the same as
Yeah,
the
so
school
it,
committee.
yeah,
If it goes to 2 years, the language would change.
no. Because it doesn't matter. It's written, so it's either way.
Okay.
So
Okay,
if, so
yeah.
let's say it's a 2-year term, if the vacancy occurs with more than a year left, you would have a special election. You would have to, because
Right, okay.
there's more
gotcha.
than a year till the next state election.
So the
which would be
language is
last
such
one.
that it'll,
Yeah,
it'll
it
accommodate
won't-
both of
It'll be
those.
the same.
Okay, good.
Or if you're within a year, if it's 4 years, like right now, if Jamie were to resign today. Council under this proposal, there would be an election. I think you can still get on the ballot in the fall, but I don't need you to look that one up. But if you can,
It
that would be
a-
to fill it, or then we'd have a special election. It's a 2-year term. It's appointment to positions up in the fall anyways,
Right.
so
Okay.
it
Excellent.
should be written so it doesn't need to be.
Good.
Regardless of term length.
Okay.
Nice.
Anything further on that? A 1520 amendment of charter.
15, 12. Look at that, a gold paperclip.
Hey, you have to pay extra for those?
No, they're actually not gold,
It's just him.
full gold. I'm a fool.
God.
I volunteered for this.
Yeah, I think in the same order that we presented them the other night, 'cause I brought my packet. I didn't bring all of my own
Um,
stuff.
They are not quite. no.
No, not quite.
Maybe the,
Alright.
the next time when we vote, we'll use that, go through them in numerical order. next
Yeah,
time.
just,
I think it'll be easier.
all right, so give me.
Okay, so the one suggestion on the 1520A that was brought up, Jen Ludwig brought it up that suggested that no more than 2 committee members be considered if they're town employees, or no more 2 positions could be filled if they're town employees. And this, I thought was a good idea. This addressed a concern that I had with this. You know, do we have people who are all elected officials and town employees, in which case the charter commission is not from the citizens necessarily, from ordinary citizens. So what I suggested is what I'm suggesting is putting in language saying no more than 2 committee members shall be concurrent town employees. Pure and
That's great.
simple,
I think that's great.
Perfect.
put it in and done. I think that addresses that
Sounds good.
concern and doesn't really change the tenor of what the statement is.
Okay.
Still expands it.
I got a request from a council person that has a concern about allowing charter review committee questions to go directly on the ballot. And she had a question about whether it was in violation of the Constitution, Section 8 of the Home Rule, and I asked Ray to take a look at it. Ray, did you take a look at that? Might be away from his desk.
Thank you.
No,
I'm
there
here.
is-
I was just trying to, I don't know if. Am I allowed to share screens on Ben's settings?
Hmm,
It's disabled. Never mind, I can
hold on a
just
minute,
read.
hold
it.
on.
It's just be known as part of the recording, so, right?
Yeah, whatever you share is part of the recording.
I know
Go
Ben-
ahead.
No, that's fine.
I'm
That's fine.
actually gonna spotlight you. Hold on just one second.
I do know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I run it for the town during meetings. I have an IT person. that
What
sits up
don't
beside
you
me.
do?
Oh my God, I know. huh?
Look, she runs the town.
Yeah.
No, I do not. I don't want that job.
This is being recorded. everyone.
I saw you polishing the
I am
cannons
the-
outside.
You want that out there.
Coordinator is really what I.
I saw you polishing those cannons outside the VFW post.
Okay.
All right,
Can you guys see that on the screen now?
No,
I
No.
know it's small.
still
it
black.
says,
Says yours has started sharing
Hang
screen.
on, let me see.
do you just have one screen, Ray?
I can see it.
Ray, you on 1 or 2 screens?
I'm on one.
Yeah, well, Brad said he could see it.
So we can. Are we on a different screen?
Hold on. I'm gonna unspotlight you. Let's see.
Oh, maybe that's it. Yep, that could be it. They may have settings that don't allow people to share things for obvious
Can you
reasons.
just hit escape on that one, Scott? On the thing? You just hit escape.
Oh, something came up and went away.
There's another window somewhere.
Okay,
Review
do it all,
options.
do all
Yeah.
caps.
It's short. I can read it to you.
Yeah, just do that.
No,
All right.
I messed everything up now.
All right, yeah, we got it.
As soon as you added the magic word, I think I messed everything up.
Okay, so you guys can see that wording now?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so I went back and forth with my co-counsel partner on this for about 40 minutes before the meeting. This, I think, is the section that the council person was referencing, right, Scott?
Yes,
Okay, so you guys can read it, obviously. The legislative body, which is certainly the town council and not the Charter Review Commission, I don't think that you would ever be considered a legislative body, because you can't pass anything. May propose amendments to a charter, and they will be submitted for approval in the same manner for the adoption. So they ultimately have to approve the things on the ballot.
so that answers that question. So
It-
if Westerly's doing this, they're in violation of this Constitution?
So here's the follow-up to that, because I can make an argument equally that having that in our charter, if the voters, let's assume, and I can stop sharing now, right?
Yeah.
No,
Actually,
looking
leave
at
it,
this
leave
is
it.
helpful. Yeah, no, leave it
All
up.
right, so if the town council chooses to put the section 1520 on the ballot, striking that paragraph or that language that talks about that they have to approve it, and then the voters approve it, that satisfies this section and doesn't violate the Constitution, in my opinion. Do you follow what I mean?
Because they have the authority and they've delegated it essentially.
No. You guys are putting forward proposals. Ultimately, they have to choose what they put forth. For argument's sake, they put forth the 1520A, as we refer to it as, without that language in it. Without that, the town council has to approve it. If that's the legislative body proposing the amendment, if that language carries the day, then I think it's okay. Because they've proposed it. Now, taking that language, they're still going to have to make those proposals. Let's say this passes. They're going to have to put your things on the ballot, any charter review commission. They're gonna,
So Ray, let me just play this out. So if I get the approval of the question we have, then let's say in 2, 4, 5 years, the next time there's a charter review commission, is our charter then saying the town council has to approve what the charter review commission puts forth them, or do they not get any say in it? Because that's why the way I'm reading it, it's like the town council still has to approve. We're just kind of handicapping them in the future to saying your ballot has only one option on it.
Can we leave that back up?
Yeah.
I can put it back up.
Helpful to see
Sure.
that.
So this is one of those, what I would say,
No, doesn't mind bending statements.
or refer to as, this is a great exercise for a law school question.
So
Um,
what you're saying, Ray, is that's your opinion, but someone else might disagree with that opinion.
Okay, and
I think that's fair to say. I guess I'm making an argument for what it is that you guys have initially proposed. Am I 100% confident that that argument is going to carry the day? And I guess that is up to all of you to determine if that's a hill you want to go to. This makes it murky. Let's put it that way.
okay, just so I'm clear on this, because I'm a pretty unpolitical kind of guy. Okay, the legislative body of any city or town, which is town council, can propose amendments that shall be submitted for approval. Who is approving this? Is this approval by the state?
The voters.
The voters, that's for the electors, yes. So it
So this
goes
is
to
the
the ballot.
electors.
Yes.
Okay, as provided for the article. So there's
To
nothing
Sarah's
in there
point-
that excludes the charter commission putting questions on the ballot. or
Yeah, I'm reading
proposals
it
on the
like you
ballot.
are, Bob. It's like, it is, I'm reading it as what we said before. They can also put in amendments. They can additionally put in amendments. That's what I'm reading it.
Yeah, I don't see that that says that they have to,
Approve the
yeah.
charter commission amendments.
one of
Well-
one of the things that
I also could take the argument that this is the only way it references, so if it's not here, then it doesn't get allowed. It's not.
So,
Just
so
taking the
section
other
8,
Trying for the Supreme
section
Court.
8 specifically says how charters are amended. So there's nothing in there that says that charter review commissions can amend charters. It's the legislative body that has
Yeah,
to do it.
So they have the power, but having another body is not mentioned anywhere, I guess would be a fair way.
Yeah, the
Well,
charter
we
commission is
are
not even mentioned.
They could delegate that authority.
Well, that's in our
basically.
charter.
Oh, that- I
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's every charter.
Yeah, if you go up and see it.
So it's kind of interesting because Tiverton has their charter review committee elected and then they vote, they do their own charter and they put it on the ballot to be voted on. Over there, the town council has no say in it. I'll have to call my friend Mike because he was on it.
Oh,
You know, He ran.
Okay,
for it.
well, that may make the difference right there.
Yeah,
because
Tiverton-
That's
They're
the
appointed, they're
elected.
elected.
We read Tiverton.
State of
Their,
body.
their entire ballots were thrown out a year ago. The charter commission wrote a whole 50-page document, how pissed off they were because none of them got to the ballot.
Over in
Tiverton.
Tiverton. Okay.
Yeah, I have that document.
Yeah, yeah.
But that
I know he was on it. He
But it is
voted on
elected
that.
though.
Yeah,
That would
right.
put it more into the.
They did a hell of a
realm
job.
What we have with the school committee and the state law, in which our school committee is an elected body as opposed to an appointed body. And different rules apply based on that. So as we are an appointed body, I would say that we probably cannot put that on the,
I'm looking at section 6 too. I mean.
even
this
if, even if that
That's,
language was
Okay.
removed, it sounds like we could not do that unless the town council allowed us to.
so
This is Ray's opinion. We have to go with what Ray's saying here, I think.
to Jim, what you were just gonna say, Jim, and what Scott was saying. So section 6 talks about the fact that they're elected people, I believe it says somewhere in here. Submit to the electors, qualified voters. I thought it said something about who shall be elected at large without party or political designation. And there's a ballot. We obviously don't do that in Coventry. Our charter says,
Maybe we should have amended that.
Aren't we the nine qualified electors and we were voted in by the town council, right?
Oh, we were appointed by the town council.
I guess my follow-up point to that would be that because Coventry has a different provision, yes, it may conflict with this, but ultimately it got approved by the voters, so it's okay. And I know that, again, I know it's murky, and I'm not giving you
The charter was
the,
approved by the voters.
you know, I'm not giving you the, yes, you can, no, you can't. What I'm telling you is that if somebody, I think it's possible to do. I think somebody could raise the issue that it conflicts with section 8. I would
Section
be
7
willing to, you know,
Section
I don't
7 is
know.
Interesting too.
I don't know of specific case law that relates to this, because it's the first time that Scott and I talked about it, was just an hour and a half ago or so. So that's some research that I can do. But if we go with Mr. Gorham's, you know, the General Assembly approved the charter argument, then I guess we can do whatever we want as long as the General Assembly approves it. I also don't agree with that necessarily.
Can I ask, all right, I'm gonna ask the follow-up question that crossed my mind. I understand that any charter change then goes to the General Assembly for approval. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, that's,
No, what gets sent to the state is a question or a document, a single page document that says that there's a letter that goes to the General Assembly asking the General Assembly to ratify what was adopted by the voters. But it doesn't let them read the charter. So they're acting on a document. So you could send a document to them with an illegality in it, and they're not going to know it.
Right.
That's what happened in Coventry. And I understand Nick's point saying they're the supreme ruler of the land. However, they didn't read the words in the charter.
Well,
They just said.
so let me just,
Answer
I just want to,
question.
so here's the question I have. If a town cannot supersede state law, we agree on that, right?
Right.
Okay, but the state can write laws that say town X or Coventry is exempt from this law. They can, at their law,
Mhm.
can go down. So I guess the question comes down to if they're approving our ratifications, are they in effect granting us permission to violate their laws? Are they giving us that exemption by approving our change? Because that's what I felt that I was hearing from the solicitor the other day was, we passed a change, it is in conflict, but I went to them and they said, we're okay with it, so they have effectively granted the town of Coventry an exception to this state law. But I don't think they, A, intended to, or B, did it in the right
Yeah,
way.
and will it come up unless someone,
And so it's, still-
Sues
it
it in
won't, and that's
court,
the other
right?
thing,
And
it
that's
won't
like-
be, until it's
Can we bring
challenged,
that
we'll never.
document up? Can we bring that document up again? Because I was looking at item 7, which was extremely interesting too, sorry.
I would just say that what happens at the State House is more of an acknowledgement, not necessarily an affirmation.
They're not legally reviewing it, I guess, correct?
Correct.
I'm just reading adoption of charters and maybe I'll pay it. Within 1 year from the date of the election of the Charter Commission, us, right?
Yep.
The charter framed by the commission shall be submitted to the legislative body of the city or town. Which
Well, that's not
body-
really, that's
That's
not really you
adopted
guys,
charter
because you didn't
That's
get.
elected too.
This is, we're amendments.
We're only amendments.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you'll find that kind of wording in every
Okay,
charter
Yep.
in the state,
okay.
the exception of Situate, because they don't have theirs online.
I think the question would be,
Situate.
they actually just adopted their charter, I'm pretty sure, within the last 3 years.
So Ray, what, so bottom line, what would you say, Ray?
They may understand.
Yeah.
You're the
they-
legal
town clerk reached
person
out to
here.
me, just been asking,
What's your opinion?
because they were just putting their charter together.
So I would say that it is,
Questionable?
yeah, it's kind of a question in search of an answer, I guess, in a sense. It goes back to some of what you guys were referencing before, and I was gonna jump in. You can propose it. If they put it on there, then you find, it doesn't become an issue unless the voters approve it. And, I think an argument can be made either way. Is it an argument worth having? That's all up to you to decide.
It's not going anywhere.
And
And
I
the
feel like
feedback-
the council it gave us pretty negative feedback on that anyway.
Yeah.
which
It's
I-
it's a hard
I
no.
don't know about you guys, I'm heading for Bunker Hill because the battle's over on Breeds Hill.
Right.
Right,
it-
That's,
right.
yeah,
I'd
this,
rather try to propose more of the stuff that they seem that they want to accept and.
I think yeah, this part of it was, I think, a hard no across the board, and I don't really think it's advisable to spend much time on it.
I agree.
I agree.
100%.
And in light of that, where it's really kind of murky, I would concur.
Right.
I agree.
All right, gentlemen. I hope you guys can handle that part of it. Just hit the end button when you're done. I'm sorry.
Okay, she's leaving
I'm
now.
up to the rest
We're
of
gonna do
the
all sorts of unfunded mandates
We're
now.
gonna-
Thanks, sir.
Sorry, I can't
That's okay.
stay, guys.
no problem.
I would like to. This is very interesting. All right. have a good
Ah, you
night.
seen it.
Can I go out this way?
One
Yeah,
last-
Yeah, you can go with it.
Okay.
One last thing on that. I would say that question didn't just pop up out of the blue, by the way that it was asked. So I think that is telling that specific section was told to be looked at. So, I think it's a good choice. I think it's
Right.
obviously a good choice.
As much as we, as a really good working group, wants to see our stuff move forward. I always had the concern here, and I did, is you can get some group that maybe not as diligent as we are. That if this was approved, they could just push out anything, any nonsense onto the ballot, which would
And then
be
you never know
terrible,
what's gonna- and
which
then
would be
you-
horrible.
You never know what's.
Yeah,
gonna come
yeah,
back.
and voters be like, oh, yeah, sure, that sounds great.
Ice cream for everybody for free every weekend, things like that. So
Yeah,
Does
I
it.
got, I mean,
it's a check and a balance.
I gotta admit, I think it was more so because watching the previous charter commission, from the gallery, put forward what I thought were good ideas that got shut down. That's why I felt that we should be pushing this angle. But I think we're better off where we're at because I think we've done a good job, but I can't guarantee the future, and this could open Pandora's
And we always
box.
have to think future.
Mhm.
So,
The only other thing you could do, I guess, is to put a ballot question out there, set to say, do you want to have an appointed charter commission or elected charter commission? But,
That
You know-
however would be new content, and
Yeah.
that's,
yeah,
so, yeah, we're not gonna add.
so
Nah,
I think
good
we need to
conversation.
strike that
But I-
and leave it
Yeah.
for the next charter commission.
But I think it's pretty clear that it would be questioned.
Mhm.
Oh, and by the way, I was thinking the same, concern that what does the next charter commission look like? And if they had the wherewithal to move things, they can call a charter commission at any time.
yes, they can.
Somebody could talk out, let's do one 6 months and we
They
want
have
you
to
to
every
focus
5
on
years, but they
A,
can
B,
do
and
it.
C, put on the ballot.
They, if they need it, they actually, you could do it in off years. Because it's funny, and it took me longest time to remember why, because I was still
But
but in, the
can't have-
reason we have,
You can't have a charter commission that consists of the council. It has to be different people, so.
Right, I'm just saying,
It's a
yes.
people's document and it's
Yes.
not,
I agree with that.
so,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's not a good thing. You've another item 1520, right?
I think that was the last one. Didn't seem to be a lot of objections.
The
to
25, the comprehensive review, which was pretty straight, right? That was another item, right?
Right, and I think that should, I don't see. I don't
Everybody
know
liked
any-
that.
Any really major feedback if there's any
just on the, I think it was
alterations.
the amount of time.
yeah, how often,
The amount of, it was the amount of time, and we said, originally that was 2 years. If they want to modify that out further, I certainly have no objection.
Yeah.
The original was not less than one, not more than two, with the possibility for extension on appeal to the town council.
Yeah, because remember the 25-year review, I think what was missed at one point is that we want to start one in a couple of years.
Mhm.
yeah, that was more.
And
let's
then
get the
20,
first
and then
one on.
25 years. And then they were concerned, like Ludwig, Council Ludwig's like, do you have enough time? Is 18
I only
months
have
enough?
It's kind
This is a lot of work.
It is a lot,
I got it on my
and that's why
computer,
we have a
Yeah,
large one. I'm
it
willing
was all
to,
positive. though.
I'm willing to extend
The
that.
original, I got,
Mhm.
no, I got, wait a minute.
Yeah, because it
It's a
should,
mile and a half.
because you think of the commission,
I
they're not
like
meeting
that.
every night doing this. It's not a full-time job, so
Yeah,
stretching it out, meeting regularly and get it done with no stress, with no stress.
Uh,
Yeah, they did look at us and like, yeah, we're really looking for people who might be interested in it. Never look at us.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I did
so-
notice- I did catch that.
Considering we've had two things now concerning dates and signatures that we're intending to leave to the town council. Okay,
You
or
go
that we're
fast
suggesting
enough
that we leave to the town council. What type of wording should we be using in the documents, in the report that we put forward? Just a simple explanation line in the first section saying, time and duration is subject to the approval of
You
the
killed it.
town.
Oh, yeah,
Approval
that's a
or
good catch.
modification.
It's a good
Yeah.
catch-all. Yeah, that's
Oh, yeah,
pretty good.
Yeah.
Just a little boilerplate that we can put on each one,
Yeah, you don't want it so
Yeah,
rigid, so rigid,
Simplistic that they can just, okay,
or something that's so unknown.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and
Or-
this is what we propose, if you're.
Or you could just say
Yeah.
of at least 18 months or something like that,
I'd be,
or at a time.
based
to
on the
be-
impact, the input, I'd be willing to put it back to the original. Of minimum of 1 year, maximum of 2 with the appeal to the town. council
Sometimes
for
the backs are
extensions.
very difficult.
That whole thing could just
Yeah.
be the time it
Yeah.
takes to do it, what I mean? I don't, it doesn't need to be rigid.
Okay,
Well, that's why I'm doing a range plus possibility for extension.
Okay,
If it was taking more than 2 years, they could go to the town council saying, hey, look, we're only up to Article 14. We need more time. And the
So-
town council could either give it or not give it.
that's something I want done well, you really don't want to rush that.
so we're
It's
gonna,
only every 25 years, right? So-
Right.
we're just gonna knock that last sentence out of that paragraph, right?
On 1520,
Okay,
yeah, I'll revise that and put that in the line.
so when.
We're gonna add the no two town employee
Yep.
things.
Okay,
And if you could keep them unbundled, that would be great.
Well, that's gonna come up, I think.
Scott didn't hear me.
That's gonna come up, not the next.
But I did
the
do that
one
a lot
after
of these.
that.
It is helpful to see them. Yes, 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 you know, when people are voting, approve, approve, approve. It is helpful,
okay.
but not too many.
So why don't we
unbundles.
move along to fire department? I know that there may be some folks that don't want to see it go. Personally, I do. I would leave it up to them to amend it or take it out as a question. Like I said, it's the people's document. And all of the contact that I've had has been, you know, they need to have some kind of conclusion to this, what they're saying. And I think when I first brought it up, and I made it early because I was gonna keep it late. But the Central Coventry thing happened for the second time, right amongst our discussions. So we talked about,
Mhm.
you know, about what the town might have to do. Well, all this does is it allows the voters to say what they want. So it'll be up to the council to say that, no, I don't want this question to go to the ballot.
What did you think of the gentleman last night at our meeting last night suggested you can make these non-binding ballot questions? I thought that was a pretty good idea because we just want to get a pulse out there that helps the whole cause. You get 80% of people saying their concern was, you know, all the cost implications and process and
I
everything.
think, yeah, you're right. I think what they did was when they saw that, I
It's
think
gotta be there.
they took it to the heart of like, well, there's different districts and what about those voters and all that? I like the idea of what he suggested, non-binding, because it gets to, back to your
I
point,
didn't know
like,
we could do that until like
it's
last night.
just on there and like, you don't have to have all the language like by a certain date, it's just that language of, do you want a one municipal fire department? Yes or no? And if it comes back a yes, then it should be back on the town council at some point
To figure out how to do it.
to figure when
but-
you want to do it.
But, so, I mean, I like, you know, I like the idea of it becoming a municipal department versus
I do
4 different districts. That's easy for me to agree with. The problem is like, I read the question and I think just to myself, how I think it's gonna happen. And I know, number one, I'm not even close to what would happen. So if it were approved, like, I think if it's approved, that means the town just absorbs the 4 districts. Like, instead of me writing a tax to Central Cov, or actually, I'm Hopkins Hill and the town, it all gets merged together. There is no guarantee that that's the way it's gonna happen. And because that hasn't been sorted out, I don't think we want to put something binding. I like the idea of non-binding because we can get the feedback of the town, but since it's like one thing to say we're gonna do it, but without a plan to do it, that we have it. I think it's too dangerous to the whole town.
Well, that was their concern.
Because
Yeah.
I think if it's gonna be one way, it's possible that we could say if it were approved, the town is now tasked with creating a municipal fire department. There's nothing in there that says the 4 districts have to go away. There's nothing that says they have to give up anything. So theoretically, you could be on the hook with 2 departments. You know, that sounds crazy, but that's just the way it's
Well,
written.
one of the things that was brought up is that somebody they had contacted at the state said that there are like 6 different alternatives,
Yeah.
you know.
I haven't had a
and
single
I-
one of them
I
Until
haven't
today.
either. I'd
Hybrid
like to hear.
approaches.
until today. I originally, and Brad can probably confirm it, wanted this to be non-binding. Just to get the pulse of the people.
Yeah,
And what happened
Yeah.
is now, and I'll make that argument forever and ever, that there is something in the charter that tells them what to do if a fire district fails. It cannot be overlooked. You cannot ask the entire tax-paying group of the town to fix one fire district. Because, you know, everybody's paying for their own fire district and paying for the one to be fixed. You simply can't do that. So in that language, from 260, it says that if it fails, the only way to remedy that is to eliminate their ability to collect taxes. Because
All of them.
now the town has to run all of them. You know, does the town want to take it over as a fire district and call it the Coventry Fire District Department? I don't know. But it does clearly say that.
Now, what
And it can be argued both ways. But a non-binding question is fine with me. You can ask Brad I talked with him about it, and we both thought non-binding is not a bad thing to do. It's just to get the pulse of the people.
Gives you the pulse,
But this
yeah.
was thrust upon us.
Yep.
Right in the middle of this. So that's why I'm saying, you know, this. So when it comes to having, you know, having different fire districts merge, the General Assembly is not in session right now,
Yeah, they're out.
and they're not
And they're not gonna be until.
and they're not gonna be till January. And when you say the word Central Coventry Fire District to the General Assembly right now, it leaves a very bad taste
Oh,
in
yeah.
your mouth.
Mhm.
So, you know,
They weren't gonna.
if
help them.
they tried to do the district thing,
Again.
it's
Yeah,
not gonna happen
right.
until at least January. They're not gonna reconvene for this.
Yeah.
So the town is stuck.
But this will give, I think that vote will give them a nudge when they see that, because I think it's gonna be
Well,
overwhelming.
true, yeah,
Don't you
think it is. I think it is. And a lot of people think that the people in Western Coventry aren't gonna vote for it. Just give them a chance to vote.
And you know my opinion, when I was thinking about it, we talked to you about it yesterday. This for the town council will be a real winner ultimately too. You know, it's something positive to help us get rescued and not have my home burned down. Because as I've learned, listening to some of the testimony on our own meetings, there's just a lot of sharing of resources going on, not only in different localities, but across the state to rescue you. It may not be Central Coventry, it might be another district, because they help each other out, because they're resource starved right now.
Right,
as
but
I
that's the
understand it.
mutual assistance and
Mutual assistance.
mutual
It's like-
assistance requires.
It has
that
to go
it has
both
to go
ways.
both Ways,
Yeah.
and if Central
Yeah.
Coventry
You have a
can't,
black hole
can't
there.
do it.
That's your domino effect right
Yes.
there.
So my
Sure.
question about the fire districts, so maybe somebody can answer, or maybe Raimi can answer. What does the state look at the districts as? Are they a municipality entity, or are they just?
Yes, they're
They're
a quasi municipal entity.
Okay, so if they're that, I think is it Title 48 then, if any things of a municipality or town with like the Central Falls things failed, would that supersede that? What, because I'm thinking what the town council's thinking, and what Gorham might be directing things at, like he's thinking, well, since the Central Falls thing has happened, the state enacted that legislation. With that legislation of that Title 48, where they have to go before a receivership before they were taken over by town, would that happen with the Central Coventry Fire Department? Would they go into a receivership to take over before, as state law says, kind of?
They've already
With-
been in
No,
receivership.
but
So would it happen again, though? Or
I
does
don't think so, but fiscal stability is still an option.
Hmm,
And I mentioned that to him Monday night.
yeah,
That you might, you know, I would be on the phone with the governor tomorrow, and I would be saying, you know, we recognize that we have a problem. You know, we're not sure what to do. There are a couple of plans in play. And he may tell you the same thing, that you're not gonna get anything done for districts, because the General Assembly controls that, and they're not gonna come back, especially for Central Coventry.
because I can see the town
And
council
even
saying,
when they reconvene in January and somebody puts a bill in the Central Coventry, all those people, they're gonna be like
We
Why-
rescued you once.
twice. So fiscal stability could kick in.
oh, this is the second time talking about now.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay, I was like, it only happened once before.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
So,
Well, it's, you know, they did the bankruptcy, and then, you know, they were under.
They were in receivership.
They were under state
Yeah.
control through the.
Special master.
No, through the Department of, trying to think of what it was, Department of Revenue, I think it was. But whatever, it was Stephen Hartford that was named to the receiver, and he actually was Governor Chafee's chief of staff. So he ran it for a while, and everything was going, but the district board kept clawing to get that power back. And the state finally had to say, listen, you know, we have to step away, because you want to do it on your own. And it's best left to the locals, because that's what you want, and so it's yours. And I think I said to Mr. D'Agostino one night that, you know, the state didn't walk away. You know, they were forced to kind of back away, because they kept being hammered to let it be taken over. So it was taken over again, and now we're back in the same situation, but even worse. The
yeah,
next scheduled meeting is for tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. How does that sound?
And PM.
Yeah.
Who's meeting?
Canceled. They canceled it already.
Oh, they canceled it already?
They moved it to July 7th.
July 7th.
Well, I
So we'll
guess,
see if they show
Hey,
up
what
at that
time?
point.
well, I guess that situation is just gonna play out and will. My thing is, I think it might just go, the town's gonna say, well, we're gonna refer to the Title 48 or whatever, then, they're gonna be, well, it's in the charter, then
But they can't, because the state law says fire districts
are not part of that.
are part of fiscal stability. So Title 48 being what, bankruptcy law?
I assuming, yeah, that's what kind of what happened with the with the
Central Coventry.
Central
the whole town,
Coventry,
you need the-
Central Falls, so that's why I'm
Yeah.
kind of that precedent. With the town council kind of be like, go to court and say, Your Honor, we have precedent over here that we shouldn't be forced to take this on, the state should, I'm just saying, hypothetically, what something like that would happen, so that's why I'm waiting to see kind of how this plays out. I'm hoping,
Hopefully they called the governor today.
yeah, I mean, by the end of July, you're gonna have your answer what's going on, right? Because
It's a
when they're
great
supposed to
time
go
to
That's
vote.
when they're supposed to run out of money.
Okay, so
It's a great time to be calling the governor.
Yeah.
So we'll
Campaign.
find out what happens then, but
Yeah.
I think we can agree, maybe a non-binding thing and right there, like to the
I
town
have no problem
council.
with that.
Say, hey, it's just a
I think
poll,
that's our best.
it's just a
best
poll
option.
to see what they have to say, then you can make your own timeline, or if
And
you
that-
don't
and
wanna.
that will help their
It'll just-
cause.
yeah,
That will
yeah.
help them.
It could be years, or 2 years from now, 3 years, who
They have
knows,
some
but
guidance,
it's guidance,
but it leaves them the ability to
look at it,
look at how the best way to get to it.
Right.
yeah, I
That
like that.
addresses their concerns about them putting out the RFP, getting information back and, what do you do about the tax levy?
And it doesn't preclude them from enacting it, even though it's non-binding.
That's correct.
So if something happens, all right, and it becomes a reality, and the people have voted on it, they can say yes. So I'm assuming that we should leave the language in there.
Yeah, it gives them a silver bullet. They've got
And
it.
it gives them like an endpoint.
Yeah.
And it keeps a commission, we added the commission in there. So that, that at least there would be some study by the people of the community. Other than a request for proposal. So a request for proposal could come in 10 different ways. They could
It's
say, we
interesting.
want you to have a private fire department across the entire town.
Council LeBlanc said it'll be months away.
Okay, yeah.
That was the
It-
disappointing.
And on the ballot, that question would say,
Non-binding
big bold letters,
resolution,
yeah.
question, reference,
Yeah,
whatever.
Because some people could read it like, oh, okay, then like a couple months happen.
Yeah,
"Why would
later on,
I
they're
get
like,
it?" It's like, did you read it? Did you, and
It said, do you want a fire department? Did you read all of it?
yeah.
Hey, can I ask a question?
That's from,
Did they say the RFP has been out for bid?
No,
Or they're
No,
just working on the
they're
RFP?
working.
They're still working on it.
I think they
They
appropriated.
approved creating it. They have not actually.
Well, they want to appropriate 25,000. I'm not sure if they're using ARPA money or something, but it's a step in the right direction.
It's a big, that's a big consulting bid.
And there's a lot of things, and I agree,
But it's been done.
in the fact
Yes.
that they are
It's nothing
taking
new.
that seriously. How do we deal with this?
Okay.
And they're looking for expert.
We will change
opinions.
that and hopefully,
Good. Good agreement on that.
Council LeBlanc doesn't have a problem with it, because I think it's a good idea. Like they said, that, people all over the town may be,
Wouldn't
some
mind.
areas of the town may not want it, some may want it. But if you don't ask the question, you're not gonna know.
Excellent, super.
All right, hold on one second, everybody. I'm trying to look for what Scott was referencing, but I can't find the Title 48, so I'm not sure where that's.
It would be in the
That's gonna
general laws, would it not?
yeah, I don't know if it's called Title 30. I thought it might have been like
I
whatever
don't even
the
know if it goes that high.
bankruptcy law, or whatever it was that.
That's,
The law
yeah,
that
it goes
was-
to, it goes to 47. That's why I was looking.
Oh, so maybe it's
Um,
46 or 40, I don't know. I know it's one of them that
It's up there.
it covered that, the Central Falls thing, after they declared bankruptcy, and were you in the General Assembly when that it was created that you
Yeah.
can't? So whatever that year was, I think it was a year after that was
They
created.
petitioned the state, right, and I think that the governor appointed Flanders or something.
Yeah, and
to
after
run it.
that, the city was like, they think the state was like, we're not gonna let anyone go into bankruptcy again, like, you're gonna have to go before. You declare the bankruptcy, you have to go before a receivership, so whatever that law about receivership is, I think that is what I'm referring
Yeah,
to.
like the
It
corporation.
was Rick Lamb that was the special master for Central Coventry, appointed by Stern. And so I'm clear. You guys are proposing to keep all of everything that Mike wrote up and just label it as a non-binding question?
Yes, Because it has a end date to it, and what it does is it says, it gives them hope for something instead of just putting in there saying, do you want a townwide fire department? And ending it there. So
Right,
it
but-
has to have something that gives a vote of hope.
But the problem is, I thought we were going to, and the intent was to have summaries so that a whole section wouldn't be listed on the ballot.
Okay,
Well, the summary would just be explaining what the question's intent is.
now the summary explains, so
So the summary would be something to the effect of,
remember,
can-
this is gonna be a public document afterwards, so if people wanna read and see exactly what they're voting for, they have the chance to, and if they say, well, I think it's a good idea that by 2024 in July, at the beginning of a fiscal year of the town, is a good date, to go with. So you can't just turn around and say, okay, do you want it? And then just not have anything there for them to read. So it would be like a blank page if they opened it up and it just said, do you want a fire department? Non-binding question without any language in there. It just seems kind of like unfair.
I don't know that we would get this by if you're including dates.
I think
Based on
that,
their input.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing they said, they don't want the dates on there, and I think if. I get your point, but I think if we put dates on there, I think then
Then
you
people
might,
are really gonna
you're
be-
really gonna be like. I mean, 2 years from now, oh, I thought we were supposed to have a fire department by now, and it was like, no, it's 9.
That was what we were.
It was just a hope, it was a non-binary thing, but they still haven't got to it yet, or whatever
Yeah, when it was binding, we wanted to have some deadlines.
yeah,
that-
so that's my only
I
concern
think it
with,
changed things.
But if it
Yeah.
doesn't, but if it, let's say it passes, non-binding, right? And then, the walls fall in. The walls fall in and there's no date for them to do it. What happens then? They have to create their own
Non-binding,
thing.
yeah, they got it.
Right.
What happens if it does, everything collapses and it's non-binding and the people have voted, all right, and just like you said, where is it?
But
Yeah,
if,
but I think if there's deadlines, it won't go forward.
right, and
The deadlines
the-
are gonna become pretty obvious once they need to do it, I think.
right, and in the event that everything goes south. Prior to any dates that are in there. Then the article that you quoted, and I can't remember the article,
260.
260, thank you. That supposedly kicks in and the town is responsible and has to deal with it at that point.
so it kind of forces their hand. in a
There,
way
yeah,
to-
I mean,
by what you
I
said,
don't
to do it.
know that it's necessary. To impose dates upon this to get the question out as a non-binding informational.
So maybe your
vote.
suggestion is to leave the language that treats like the fire department and the police
With the scale,
department alike.
Yeah,
exactly,
And all of
yes.
that, and just take.
framework,
What's our
Right.
intent?
but not.
Basic framework
Yeah.
and no dictates.
Okay.
I just think if
I
you
agree.
leave that language with dates in there, it's
That's
gonna
gonna-
be, a. And then off the table. I think if you take out the dates, I think there's more of an entertainment, like. Okay, there's no dates in there. We feel more comfortable about kind of it's a rough draft and. Put it out. And like you said, I think the fail safe is there. There's the 260. If it, we're gonna have that answer sooner or later then. I mean, by August,
Right.
we're gonna get it. So and then 2 years from now,
Because
We'll
let's
see what
face it,
happens,
we
you
left
know?
the table in that last meeting with a hard no on this, so we're trying to get it to yes.
yes, exactly. So we're
Yeah, we
trying to,
need to
I guess, bend a little bit, maybe
And it gives them-
get them to get it on there.
And it
for you.
doesn't interfere with anything they get from the RFPs,
Correct. Yeah.
anything that comes in. Okay, the town put a question out here asking whether or not the town is interested in municipal versus district.
Mhm.
Yes or no. It's non-binding.
We
If
can't-
other options come up,
We can't put a question
might
on the
be-
ballot to ask the people if they want to have one fire district. We can only put a question on the ballot to make it a townwide fire department. Because the.
Because this is.
Fire-
Fire district is
and
not
perhaps-
part of the.
and
town.
perhaps
no,
that's the
district
best
are
way
run
to
by-
phrase it
by
as
state.
opposed to municipal or not townwide. Not, whatever the solutions are that come down from the proposals, okay? It's gotta be a townwide solution.
Right.
And municipal versus district. Leave that up in the air.
All right, so. Brad, how do you feel about that?
I like everything that's been said and make it non-binding without dates. I know it's not exactly what we wanted, but I think it's the only way we're gonna be able to get it on the ballot.
I just have to. That information, unless I'm mistaken, is not gonna end up on the ballot. A question will end up on the ballot, like all of your proposals, how the voters are going to get all the blue underline and that stuff. I don't have a clear understanding of how the council's going to get that in the hands of the voters, whether it's going to be some sort of a mailing or, booklet.
I would
or whatever
assume
they're
it would be
going
the
to do.
same way they're gonna get the information about our other questions, because our hope is not to put full text on the ballot, just summary questions about. them.
Right.
And kind of similar to this.
So it's kind of two different, I hear Scott when he says it's the document, I guess the thing that I would
report.
ask you all to consider is, how are you going to make sure that that document, that the town gets that in the hands of the voters, and the council president does a campaign similar to what she's talking about with whoever the council president happens to be then, with the budget, what she's about doing now. Because the
Correct.
questions are gonna
Correct.
be short.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but is not our report a published document?
It is, and Ben had told me that, at some point there'll be a link to these documents on the website. I guess I'm just throwing it out there for consideration, to make sure that the people aren't going in and just looking at these summary questions without having the full.
Should we, Ray, should we simply add, I mean, I did this originally, we have questions in the report, suggested ballot summary, what our proposal, what the ballot should literally look like. Because if I just say in the instance with the financial provisions, improve public input to the thing, and that's it. It's got to be a lot more than that. I mean, I originally proposed a couple of paragraphs because
But at the same
basic-
time, if you print the whole text, which takes 3 pages.
Can't do
we're
that.
paying- That's,
it's got to
that's
be,
180, but it's the same problem.
it's got to be, it can be very simple.
Right.
That was my intent. It's got to be. a
And the same
paragraph.
argument, pertains to everything that we're proposing. The language, the actual language is not going to be on the ballot. If somebody wants to see the actual language, they have to look at the report.
It maybe add a section called suggested ballot language, something like that.
Yeah, we can put it in the report.
we can all
put
do
it
that.
as
It's not hard.
non-binding
Super simple.
recommendations.
So it's take the dates out, leave the structure in place.
And I would change
and-
municipal to
and-
town-wide,
Okay,
okay, because that
Then it
leaves it
leaves
open.
all.
All options are still on the table. Is the town in favor
idea.
of maintaining districts or town-wide? And I think that would satisfy the concerns of the council, because it doesn't bind their hands to anything. And it still allows us to put something on the ballot to get public input.
Mhm.
I think that's probably our best bet to get it moved forward.
okay. So we'll work on the suggested language.
And do that for all of them.
Yeah. But like I said, the document is going to be public and it has to have something for them to read.
Right, but it can be in there with a
Something to look forward
framework.
to, so
Yep.
it's, we'll get to work on that. Any other comments on that?
No, good, no, it's good. Good deal.
Section 201 election law, that's all showed up,
Based on the feedback of the council, this proposal is dead on arrival.
Okay,
2001, what,
That's,
201?
All 3 of them,
okay.
that's partisan, yeah.
1, 7, 8, and 9, all part of one.
Okay, one of the things, if we go with more gold paper.
So they
clips,
can vote to not send that, so. So,
If we send it to them.
We'll
yes,
just leave it
well,
alone.
I have no problem sending our request
Yeah.
and letting them take
Oh,
them out.
It'd still be in the
That's-
report.
They have the right. They have the right. to
Oh, yeah, we don't have to
So-
remove it. It'll still be there.
Okay, this is something that we actually talked about back in May. And this is not the current language that it's in any of our things, so I just want to make sure that it's there. But this, I think, addresses the issue that Ann brought up as far as having multiple things included in one section on it, to have it one question.
Oh, so are we moving?
The
are we moving on
multiple
then to the next
variables.
I think he's referencing yours in context.
This
of
actually is
a general
is
comment.
all of them,
Okay,
okay, because her thing was the number of variables in there.
right, there was some that had,
So, right, if you recall, if you look at the second page. I put an example as to what the different
Yep.
variations are based on 4 different questions. Okay, now there are minor variations in the wording of what the final charter amendment would look like. But they do change based on what gets approved and what doesn't get approved. And I believe from the kind of pounding I got on at the end there, that this was a major concern of hers. And to be honest with you, I agree with it. Because you don't want the whole thing thrown out because somebody didn't like one tiny section of it. So you don't want, well, vacancy, I think, can stand alone, but for example, moving the town council to 7 from 5, okay? You may not want that, but you may want other proposals that are in there as far as term of
they really
office.
should all be separate questions.
They should all be separate questions, and the language that we need to present to the town council should account for that. So I don't have a problem if we go through and identify the different questions and put them down. We have the language in total,
Mhm.
okay?
Separated.
Separate it out, and I can very easily make up the documents based on, doing what 16 of these things. It's cut and paste.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's 2 documents up, cut and paste, and you put them in. So this is what it looks like with option 1. This is what it looks like with option 2, et cetera, down the
I
road.
didn't know if they wanted to have something, if we would have to write something as a full document that has, write 7 different charters.
Well,
I don't think,
But what I did do is under school committee, town council, and I bundled it, like she asked them to. And then she wanted it unbundled after I.
I think that's one of the areas where unbundling made sense, so they could vote
yeah,
on. them
so that way
separately.
you could vote on 7 with 2 at, whichever. All right, so I think we need to pick, we need to pick one to send forward.
This whole thing could be handled with the suggestion of, we are gonna write the suggested ballot questions that will handle the bundling and unbundling.
Right.
Without having to change anything else in the document. That will be the section
Plus,
where,
we can write one that says we're gonna do these, pick. I don't know what they read, I'm just pointing. We're gonna do option 10. I don't know what that is, but that's the one we put forward, which has whatever those 3 items are.
well, what gets put for, no, it's not what we put forward, what gets enacted based on the vote.
So let's,
So in other words, what does the charter section look like if all of them are approved? What does it look like if all but one of them is approved?
so I think
I
the filling vacancies we've taken out of this because it's in. a
Right,
separate
because you
one, so that
pretty much
one's out of it.
bulletproof that, and that
The
you could.
partisan, nonpartisan, even if we put it forward, I think we know that one's
oh,
gonna be
good,
its own question or not gonna be on the ballot at all. So really, I
Right,
think
so you're
we're down to. Town council, 2 years or 4 years, I think that should be one question. And then town council, and school committee, do we expand it to 7?
From 5
From
to
5 to
7.
7, and I think this should be bundled. If we expand it, how? So we either put forward, go from 5 to 7 with 7 districts, or 5 to 7 with the 2 additionals being at large. And that should be one.
I just don't like the at large.
I don't either.
This town is 64 square miles, so one at large guy is gonna have 32 square mile. I don't care how you cut it.
No, it wouldn't be, it would be the whole town. If we do it at large, the at large has the whole town. It wouldn't be.
Each at-large seat represents the entire
The whole town,
whole
Yeah.
town.
so that
Two
that
people
makes it
covered.
even worse. That's 64
Or
square
you
miles.
could put language in there that says, would you?
Or create two,
Or
split it in half. and do
does
it.
the whole town, or does the whole town council go to at-large seats?
That's also.
Time out,
Yeah.
time out,
Okay,
time out, guys. You're not on that item necessarily.
Gotcha.
Sorry, sorry.
okay, the election law, okay, 201, 207, and 209 are actually part of the things that Ann was objecting to, in that there were too many variables in there for a single question. So,
Those, there are separate sections for town council and for school committee. And that goes to the at-large and how many there's gonna be and that kind of thing.
right, so what we would need to determine to satisfy the concerns that Ann had would be to break these out into separate questions. So that they could see the language of the charter amendment based on whether or not there was a vote for or against any particular item, line item that was on there. So
I,
more questions, more votes, possibility of 16 different results.
okay, so that makes it about a 100-page document now instead of a 54-page document.
That's correct.
And that I is a concern. I know that's what she said.
So
I don't know if you could, somehow list the different variables and leave it up to them to determine which variables they want to, which is ultimately what they're going to do, which variables they want to put forth. I don't think you want to give them 16 different versions of 15.20A, for
In
example.
order to have 4 questions and see what the outcome of each question was,
Well-
based on the voting, you would need that.
Ray, can I offer this as an alternative? Each question is, I would say, individual, if that's how they want it, but on each question, it only shows that change. So if question 1, and I'll take the easiest one, going from 5 to 7 counselors, and we did it by districts, that would be one question, and nothing else on that part would change. So you would have way it is with the one change, and then you flip the page, and now the second question of nonpartisan, like that's its own, and you have just those pages. So you don't have to put all of them together to show all the different possible outcomes. You just show the change that has a question to it and keeps everything else as it is.
Yeah, the permutations are implied.
I agree with Ted on that. I was gonna suggest that later in the meeting on this topic, that we just do the ballot question and the affected text just pertaining to that, because isn't it ultimately on their solicitor if there's other things that need to be changed? We were just trying to be helpful and
We'll do the.
putting it all together for them.
Yeah, I believe so.
Right, but the basic idea, though, is still to break it out into separate questions.
Right. Oh, yeah. A separate question for
ABCD.
each change we want to
I
make.
think it's fair to ask both, 2 or 4 year terms in, 5 or 7 districts or whatever we end up going with. But I think those are better to do separately.
Yeah, because to your point, and this is very good. There's the 4 questions. It's understood. You could have all these different permutations.
Right, but we don't need to show all full text of
It's
every
understood.
possible,
We don't have to lay it out.
and every
they should know.
editorial change that might go with it.
But it's very interesting. Very good.
It gets big fast.
We don't need to put all the permutations.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
I don't have new business on my agenda.
Wait,
Yep.
And
One-
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, Zach.
So you all are at some point going to vote on these things, and you're gonna vote on what we're now calling all the variables, whether or not they should go forward. Am I correct?
Yes, I believe.
Okay, so I don't know that we necessarily need to, I guess, to the point that was just made. If a ballot is basically created that lists all these variables for each of the sections, and you all vote whether you want it to go forward or not with like a small synopsis of what those variables are that you're voting on, then that can go to the council, and to the point that was made, then they can make the changes as they see fit in the charter to affect what you all vote on if they put it forward.
Yep.
Right.
That sounds.
Right,
So-
but
Not all of them have a lot of
So
variables.
what's gonna happen is, it's gonna force the solicitor to write a document. We already have the document. As we see it and as we proposed it, and we're gonna change a few things in it, but it still needs to be a document. And it needs to be in legislative form, or else the solicitor will say it's incomplete. And it could kill the whole document. So there does have to be language in there, and it has to be presented to them, in some kind of legislative form, because like I said, the solicitor is gonna say, well, I have to do this now. And he really doesn't need to, because our
Yeah, we're trying to minimize
right.
his
Our-
level of effort.
Our
on that.
legal counsel is putting it into this.
I mean, he's still gonna review it, but it should be, we're gonna make, that should be minimal.
Right.
So.
So
there's a
what
few
we're
things
talking
take-
about is breaking it down into. So it's separate questions, say there's, let us say there's 4 questions. And not providing them with all the permutations.
Yeah.
But providing them with
The
the charter
text of the
saying
specific
of that
change
specific
of that
change.
question.
So there's 4 questions, there's 4 proposals for the charter change, everything else. They hire people to do that.
Yeah, because to me, it's,
That makes sense to
in
me.
my mind, you're right, what the ballot question and its intent should be. Then there's the language of all the things, because we have to abide by the structure of the report. That's the
Yep.
legal language.
Mhm.
But we talked about this from day one. We want something people can read and understand.
What is the
And
intent?
we don't want them to have an SAT test when they get to the end of the ballot and they're just gonna blow it off. Talk about undervotes. We have undervotes ballot questions big time too. We don't want that to happen.
Okay, so, the council president didn't want us to add things, and I'm gonna add things. But I don't have new business.
So we still got,
It's just the one
we
thing.
still
we're
gotta
gonna add, right?
resolve this and we have forms of government as well.
Yeah.
And I think we should take an informal poll amongst the members, not a vote, but. I think we need to decide what direction we're gonna vote on as a final for each of these next week, so. I'll take this one. Are we putting forward 2-year terms? For all counselors or 4, is that, or we leave it as is?
2.
I'm 2. I
Yeah.
Two,
Leave it
two,
at two.
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 Brad?
2.
Okay, so our proposal will be drafted to vote on, we'll be changing the term to 2 years, okay. What do we want to do about going from 5 to 7? Do we want 7 districts or 5 plus 2 at large?
7 districts.
Seven
Seven
districts, that's what we
districts.
discussed.
Some districts, yeah, so we-
If the town council wants
If
to,
they want to change it, they are,
they
they
can,
can-
and they
They can.
could
Yeah.
put,
And they could,
listen, but they could put at large as a challenge or as a.
or
Yeah.
some, they can do both, yeah, you can put
Right.
them both on.
If they really
want
want
It's
at
their
large, they
prerogative.
can put it- they can modify it to.
Brad, do you agree on that? or-
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so the draft for that proposal will be for 7 with 7 districts. Okay. I think that's it.
So any other questions embedded in? There was one that was the stipend issue that I think we should, based on their responses, I think. we
Not
should
even
just
put it in
strike
there.
Don't-
Yeah,
don't-
get rid of
it's- that's-
I
I think they appreciate us bringing it up.
Yeah, but I disagree because this is a document that's gonna last for a long time.
No, I say we leave it in.
If you don't, if they want to amend it and they want to say, well, maybe it's a little too steep. And we only want to do this. I know that they're afraid of voting on something that they're going to increase their pay, but they're really not. They're voting on a document that is going to go to the voters, and the voters are going to decide to increase their pay.
And I had a very interesting thinking about this today. I've read the charter again. It is called a salary. I know a lot of people, "Oh, I'm a volunteer, I'm happy to do it. It's like a stipend. I don't remember it.
should be
It was
both.
created as a salary for a reason. As a salary, and it hasn't changed in 22 years. Which to me is embarrassing. And we're talking about future candidates and future people. I know the town council can talk about themselves a lot. Because it's a sensitive issue politically, for sure.
But
But
it's-
somebody's got to tee it
But
up.
it's up to the voters.
It's gonna be the year of 2090. It's gonna be still.
yeah, I mean, we can put it
$4,000.
on there, but
They'll strike it, but we can
And
put it.
Yeah,
I
you
think
said
increasing
so.
it would incent some people to run for that. I think
I think it would.
I think it
yeah,
would.
yeah.
And it's not like it's not a lot of work because, they're in on the for 6 months, right? Putting the budget together.
We value these people. It's really important what
If
they
they
do.
weren't there doing it, how is it gonna happen?
Can we,
This is not a gazillion
can we
dollars.
just put a future enactment date for 2 reasons? Number 1, I want to get it out of the current budget cycle. I want it to be, so that doesn't.
It's not in the contract.
It's not in the current budget.
It's gonna be voted on by the people.
Correct.
Correct, but, hold on.
I hear you,
If it's, we're on the ballot and it was approved, okay, I want an enactment date, so it's not gonna be in effect, I would say, until the next election, so that way. The people who are voting to put it forward are not benefiting from it until another election has occurred, and it's in the next budget cycle, so they can plan for it, that's all I'm saying.
Pretty sure
So,
it's in there.
Did we have it in?
I'm pretty sure it's in there.
If it is, I
that's-
forgot. I'm sorry.
It's, no,
I'm not
it's
sure that-
existing language.
Is that the town council's enactment of that? If not, we should refer to that section. I know what you're talking about.
Right.
There is a section in there so that,
They cannot raise their own pay.
right,
Okay, all right.
So
So it's,
already
okay,
got that.
that's all, okay, that's all. I
That's
just,
why
wanted- I just
100
didn't want it to be, and I know these are small dollars on a big budget, but like suddenly, if we go from 4,500 to 8,000 or whatever it was, that suddenly we need to come up with another $15,000 in this year because, hey, I got a raise, you voted on it halfway through the year, so.
But I hope we frame it with the reason why this number has not been increased in 22 years. Why, if your pay rate hasn't been increased in 22 years, you
Why
probably
are
have
you
a
still there?
problem with that.
if I was getting $4,500 a year to do that job, I'd have quit.
Well,
But you knew it going in.
And I'll guarantee you it is a disincentive, people, they don't want to do it.
Yeah, you know what the, I gotta look up what some of the pay is for other towns and stuff for the town councils.
You know,
That
that's a
was,
question asks us about everything, doing more research in other
Yeah,
towns.
I'll
Sometimes
I'll
we
take
did.
a look at
sometimes we
them.
didn't.
See what I can come up
That'd be
with.
really helpful.
Yeah.
So Greg, my dilemma right now is I don't have new business on my agenda. It was left out. So,
Okay, we do still have form of government.
Yeah, the mayor, we have mayor.
form of government,
Mayor section isn't referenced, it obviously overlaps, but
I think
it
mayor's the
just
last
lists
thing, right?
form of government.
Yeah,
right,
Mayor's the last thing, and the biannual communications.
Those aren't on the agenda.
yeah, the biannual communication isn't here.
I don't, maybe
It's
it's
a new section 1520.
a new section. It really is new business. It was done in between meetings.
so there's no new business on this,
Last time, and this came up last time, the intent was to have it on there, correct?
yes,
I think last time the way we handled it, was that somebody made a motion to
Correct.
add new business and it was voted upon.
I could do that.
is there a motion to add new business to the agenda?
I'll make a motion to add new business to the agenda.
There's that.
I'll second it.
Okay, we still have 102 to
Yeah,
go through.
yeah, I know.
Okay,
And
all in
what-
favor of that? We didn't vote.
Oh.
Aye,
Aye.
okay.
Okay, and also,
Brad?
how do we deal with 1522?
Brad?
New business?
Sorry,
Aye. No,
I can't vote on anything,
Okay.
remember?
oh, right.
Gotcha, okay.
Good catch.
so how do we handle 1522?
It's probably gonna have to be done in public comment,
Okay,
although it could be done under new business.
Yeah, it could be new
Okay.
business. We'll handle under new business. We'll handle mayor. We didn't do that.
So. So I don't have a problem sending that question out, it does touch on things and it was brought to my attention that it actually does have good things in it. When it comes to certain appointments and this and that. I think it's fair to leave it in there if the council does not want to move it along. Then the voters would still have the opportunity to say, well, you know, they tried this thing for mayor. And I like it, and maybe they can petition, or they can put a group together, or they can ask for another charter review to add it publicly, so. Is what it is. Go ahead,
A
Jim.
couple comments, because it's interesting, really interesting topic to me. And one things I've consistently said, I'm not just an assistant, but that if there were to be an elected mayor, I would hope there would still be a term to use, a chief administrative officer, someone with significant town management professional skills in place, and I probably want that in the language. Town council concerns. And they saw it as, again, another unknown, unfunded mandate, needs further vetting and analysis. There are concerns from the town council, they can lead to cronyism, you know, and I've seen this happen. You hire mayor, they hire a bunch of friends, who becomes a financial director. And you could get, you know, you want to make sure there's still a good skill level with your mayor and some experience. You would hope to get that. And the people would vote on that. Reverse, and I've learned a lot, and I studied this a little more. I put some links in for you guys. And by the way, this is the template employment agreement for the ICMA town management professionals, which was very, very interesting, in serious severance and things like that, because here's what I wrote. Alternatively, outside public administration professionals may bring in outside public administration professionals need to abide by stringent contract requirements that feeds an additional ICMA fund proposes significant severance agreements, et cetera. Really good to read through the agreement. I would hope that our town works very hard on these contracts, so not all of that's necessarily in there. And that's a contract deal.
So,
So I don't know how that was interesting to me. That's the flip side too. Because, I've worked in 5 towns. I know Susie in Massachusetts. I know somebody in Indiana. They're gonna move here. They're really good and they may be great. And it might be a really good thing. But you do get into that kind of thing too. So, there's needs to be some balance. You need that. I mean, I'm a master's in public administration. This is where I'm coming from. So I went to Penn State for that. There's some professionals out there that really help, especially with budgeting and financial inner workings that people are great at and bonding, all that stuff, instead of learning it on the job. There are some really great mayors out there too, from your locality with lots of experience. So I think there needs to be some balance with that. On both ends, you worry a little bit about it, but there should be a good injection of professionalism that you can count on with a skill set in there, one way, shape, or form.
I was
In my opinion.
asked about the salary
opinion.
and putting it in as determined by ordinance, because I didn't know where to put it. We could put it, no different than, the current standard. And the same thing with if a mayor wants to hire someone as a chief of staff and a director, it's certainly gonna have to have some qualifications, and the mayor would certainly be. should
Right,
be
I would
smart
hope
enough
so.
To do that.
But I remember even in my own, it was in Attleboro, it was like, oh. It was very political, even though it was not partisan, the Republican mayor selected some Republican financial, they were lawyers who had never even done finance before. They did a good job, by the way, they were very intelligent people, I would say that.
So
they did.
different, like
This-
you said, that what's happening here, that is the manager has the power to,
Right.
to fill positions, and he did.
Pluses and minuses, but there's some balance there. And I was going to suggest, I mean, this was a hard no from them, just like the fire department. This again could be an unbinding ballot question.
Non-binding.
Non-binding.
But yeah, I tend to.
I
agree with-
wanted to.
I
review
was
it
thinking
some more, too,
unbundled.
because I think it needed a little more
Yeah.
work.
But
looking at it
What do you
tonight,
think
but-
about non-binding?
Yeah.
I think that
The
might
whole,
work.
the concept itself, I'm not totally against it, but
I'm concerned.
number one, I don't think it's been thought out enough exactly how it's gonna work. If it were to be enacted, then part of me is just like, I understand that our town's growing, but I also don't necessarily think the current system is not working. I think the problem we had a couple years ago is, and the last charter commission actually put forward and we fixed the qualifications because we had set them so high, we couldn't get anybody.
Mhm.
That was what was really handicapping us for,
Yeah, they
3
changed, they
years.
changed.
And
it
they
like
changed
five-
that.
Like 5 times.
so,
Interesting.
but as a whole, I don't necessarily think that our system is so broken that it needs to be changed at this level, but it's worth looking into. I think.
Yeah. So it's a suggestion.
Right.
You want to make it non-binding, I have no problem with that. I can tighten up some of the language on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, my thing on this is that as a charter question or as a charter amendment, it's like the end of the process rather than the beginning of the process. So a non-binding question. Should we look into changing the form of government to a mayor? Following that, I think. a special
And why? And why?
And why? And
and it could be
if,
taken, and it could be taken up on the comprehensive side.
Mhm. And if so, I think that would warrant a special committee to look into all the permutations.
Yeah.
So that this
There's
is
a
all
lot
worked
that
out
goes.
and all all the details are worked out.
The
Not
town
not
manager
dissimilar to the.
currently
fire
shows
department.
up in a lot of different sections of the charter, just as related to duties and things.
No, and
So
it's-
there's a lot of that. And then in the final thing, if it's decided that, yes, okay, we've worked all this out. Now it's time to put this into the charter and change our charter. And it affects a lot of things within the charter
Yep.
and how things are done.
And Ben brought up the town manager, mayor relationship and their balance of power and what they do. But something like that could be really good. Elected person, a significant professional working with them that's hired, that's always there. And to your point, elected mayor is like, you got another representative from your locality. And if they don't go do a job in a couple of years, they are unelected.
Yeah.
And the town manager does give you the continuity or whatever we want to call that person.
Yeah.
I mean, some folks may see that you're growing the government, that's the other
Right.
concern.
Right.
So it might not be a town manager,
Administrative.
but
Administrative position.
just somebody, they use the term CAO, Chief Administrative Officer.
Okay, I'll work on that. I have no problem with binding. You want to get a poll on that? A pulse?
Yeah, I guess.
Right, say something?
Yeah, I agree with everything that was just said. I was gonna bring up earlier, I didn't know if it would be jumping ahead on the agenda or not, but I was gonna say that since there were similar concerns between the fire department and this issue, I was gonna suggest making it non-binding like we did with the earlier topic.
Okay.
Cool.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
like
way to
that.
I'll
move
tighten
forward.
up some language on it.
Yeah.
And it'll be something, like I said, something that we can document that once it's published, people will say, oh, so this is what the mayor will do, blah, 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 blah. And then it'll be food for thought in the future. Right.
Can I ask you a question? Is the biannual subject the only thing that really is gonna come under new business?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Why don't we just skip right to public comment and maybe you guys can just handle it that way?
yeah, and basically I was gonna make the language, as we said earlier, with the mailing, with the financial provisions. Similar, it's like not a mailing at a cost, it'll be a communication with a level of detail you need to notify every elector.
Okay.
So
So they
I'll
can
just rewrite it,
Figure out what the best way of doing that.
it'll
is,
future
but
proof it.
That sounds like.
Cool.
Public comment?
Actually, new business, what would be new business too is our next meeting.
Next Wednesday.
Because I would love not to be here next Wednesday. I was wondering if there could be a different day.
Poll everybody.
So I know I can't, I really shouldn't be here next Wednesday.
Where you going? Vacation?
This is my 65th birthday. and My
Oh.
wife has planned some extravaganza.
Oh, yeah.
We'll all be there.
I was here and I was here for my anniversary, so.
Oh, yeah, he's.
So I
So
mean,
we'll all be there.
we'll be, yeah, really. So the meeting should be there.
Meetings at Jim's house.
We want to find a good date.
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's
It's
okay.
fine, yeah.
Doesn't matter to me.
We can work something out. Okay.
Just,
That's important. I know it's an important meeting. I want to be at.
Okay, just looking at my schedule, you call it, I'll be there.
I should Wednesday, Thursday, or
Should look
Friday,
at my
should be
schedule.
fine.
All right, so we'll just have to check with Sarah
just,
and Mike.
can I just selfishly add one thing here?
Sure.
So I know you're all gonna vote on something at the next meeting.
Yep.
They need this stuff by the 11th.
Mhm.
Even if it was on Wednesday, which I know it's not gonna be, and I totally
We're being
respect that. Jim.
told that they want it by the 11th by the council president, right?
What I'm saying is that it's gonna be very difficult to make happen in a final format. I will do my absolute best, and you guys do great work and you do all the heavy lifting, but putting it together in one cohesive document,
It's too bad we couldn't have a shared document, Ray. Man,
it was a,
I don't know if anybody's done that. know, where
I
you can-
have, and sometimes it creates more headaches than it's.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Then you got
You wanna
a version
control, understood.
control and all that kind of stuff.
Understood.
Oh, I don't want control. It's just, I do that at school and it gets, somebody deletes something and.
We started doing RFPs that way, right? GT worked pretty well.
um,
But okay, well, but we'll feed you stuff as soon as we possibly can. I don't think anybody around here, it's not a lot we have to do, I don't think.
Yeah, we're breaking out questions, making some minor wording changes.
I mean, I'll do it tomorrow, mine tomorrow, I'll be
Yeah,
done.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I
Also,
can-
just, I'm sorry, Jim, just as an update, I received from the town manager today, what was titled, the town council rules or bylaws, the document that was referenced, the other night about the gender neutral language.
Good point.
And I read the document twice. And I had somebody else read the document and I reread it again before the meeting. And there is no reference to what they expect as far as gender neutral language and what he sent me.
Should we add
And
this language?
in fact, it says in the document for their rules, it talks about voting and it says, something happens when he or she votes and it references himself and herself. I've sent an email to the council person that brought that up. Has replied to me that she'll try and get me what she thinks is maybe an updated version of that sometime after she takes care of some things at home. So if I get that, I'll obviously send that all to you so that you have it. As I said at the meeting, for those of you that were still there, I'm certainly sensitive to the issue. I don't know, other than putting, he, she, or they, or just putting people as persons. I don't know how much more we can do. The whole charter is written that way.
Yeah, we can, maybe we can ask Sarah. I mean, she probably, I don't know if she has oversight in their charter, and knows more how they were handling it. She might be able to give us some feedback on that. As long as we're consistent with another town.
Just take a look at their charter.
Yeah.
Online.
Yeah.
I've looked at some other ones and it's not any different than what you all and what I tried to do. So I'm working on it, I guess is the point. When I get information, I'll make sure that you all get it.
Okay, could we put a disclaimer in there saying that we understand that certain language may need to be changed to accommodate gender neutrality?
And that's kind of the fallback. I'll just add it in that, general information for the reader in my mind, just so you know what I'm thinking. I'm not going to redo this whole report. I'm going to incorporate the June 27th report into what will now become the July 18th report. So it'll kind of be a one complete document.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Still in new business, I think.
Yes.
I have been asked to put a couple of things in and I'm gonna do it. It was requested that we add the finance directors to the school building committee so that they'd be as ex officio members, so that there'd be some communication about finances.
Yeah.
Back,
That's a good idea. Yeah.
there was an $89 million question that went out. I think they worked pretty hard.
Yeah. You could even put a note in there as recommended by town council at the meeting that we're at. I mean,
That's fine.
they wanted us to do that. So,
I don't know why they wanted us to do it. They can do it themselves.
yeah.
Term
that's
limits.
okay.
Term limits, I put in, I sent it to Ray. There's another thing like requirements for people, there's a lack of it for the finance director, the planner and things like that. So take a quick look at it. I don't know if it's something that you would think that you would have some, you would get a resume from someone when they want to sit on a seat. So I'm going to talk with her again and see, exactly what she wants, and I'll see if I can find it in any other charters.
Again, like they could be adding.
They could add it on there, consider it from
Yes.
themselves too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, why, are they aware that they can put forth their own recommendations? Since we're already
They
working
should.
on so much?
I don't
We
wanna-
told them we could.
The other
That
question
was mentioned in the meeting.
The other question was about the lottery for ballot placement. And if it
Oh, yeah.
goes to partisan, she was concerned that they would only pull a Democrat name or a Republican name, and you would never see the independent name any higher than that on the ballot. I'll check the Board of Elections and see if we can leave the language that we have in there to be.
Well, that was one of the drafts I sent you, was leaving ballot order by lot for the local offices regardless of.
We would just have to make sure it's not inconsistent with anything
Okay.
that they do. And I don't think it would be, because it's our own election laws local.
Right.
So,
Well, I hope they look at this as an opportunity to add a question or two. I mean,
okay,
we're supposed to do this every 5 years, right?
so,
And as far as the term limits go on it, okay, we had extensive discussion about that and decided not to put that in a recommendation. They can add that.
yeah, well, I did put it in, and I added a caveat, so. The council person wanted to have term limits. So in that big bundle thing that I
So
put
that-
together,
that can
I added term limits. And if you looked at it, it said certain seats will be on the ballot at such and such a
Yeah.
year's election. I added to the 2-year term that it'll be a maximum of 4. And then you have a 2-year respite, and then you'd be eligible to run for the next election.
Mhm.
And I also added the caveat that in any district in the town in case they relocate. So it stops
Yeah.
anybody from
Moving,
moving to run for a seat this town council.
Okay, that also adds, we're now up to 4 questions in Article 3. And that does not count the changes in Article 4 that are mirrored, such as the compensation. So
We can change that.
we're talking about the number of variables that are in there. These are all separate questions within the document.
I
Okay,
just want to say, I
I'm not
hope,
objecting, I'm just saying that. we
I
need to
hope
address
that whatever they approve is bundled. So my question with filling vacancies, and I wrote it, so it would be one question that changes both the school committee and the town council. But I don't get the final say on this, but I want it to be one question so that if it's passed, they are the same. So I'm hoping that even though we're gonna have to write it up for both sections, so if we write up, we want 7 districts for town council, we have 7 districts for school committee. If they change it to 7 to 5 plus 2, what it be it, but I want to hope it's one question, so the end result is we are the same. So if
For
we're changing,
vacancy, I am 100% in agreement.
Can I just, you guys, I don't even know what part of the agenda we're on right now, so.
We're in new business.
well, we're going back to old business.
Or public comment. So
Yeah, that probably would be best. Let's go to public comment.
Okay, we're in public comment.
the only comment I have is I feel that we should be operating under our rules and nobody else's because it's in the charter. It tells us what to do, when to get it done by. So, I actually, we were told this twice, and I had some problems with it the first time. And I have the same amount of problems with it this time, but, we'll get it done and we'll work within, the rules that tell us how to do it because it's prescribed in the charter. That we're not supposed to be interfered with from the outside. Anybody else?
Yeah,
I'll just add my comment that I just said, that I hope questions that affect the town that if we're putting forward a question that affects both the town council and the school committee, that question be asked as a bundle so that the end result mirrors.
Vacancy, I think, works well that way. I think that could be done with compensation as well. Term limits is strictly town council. Town council membership.
Oh, term limits. I'm gonna have to check with her again on term limits for school. Because I that wasn't brought to my attention
And are you writing it
So
in
if-
years or terms?
terms.
Well,
for the
there may
school-
not be term.
True.
So I would say, my suggestion to you would
Put it
be,
in
right, put it in years, because
We had this discussion back in March.
years are gonna be there no
I
matter
think
what.
it says 4 terms for a total of 8 years. It kind of makes sense.
But that's presuming there is 2-year terms.
Correct.
So that's why if you just put no more than 8 consecutive years,
Right.
Yeah.
you'll be covered
To the
2 4-year terms or 4
Yep.
2-year terms. That's it.
Yeah, those are the various permutations that come out. I agree with you 100%.
Gotcha.
And I believe that was
Yeah.
advice that Ray gave us early on.
Yeah.
I'll get to work on and I'll get it to Ray and then you guys can review it and
My last comment to it, are we in agreement, within our sections? I mean, right now I have a question at the top that says, improve public input. Well, that can't be the ballot question. That we are going to write what we think should be literally on the ballot.
I think we should try to put our suggested language that incorporates
That will help a lot.
what the person needs to understand is being
As
effective.
having a discussion, not public comment. I hate to be the bad guy,
Okay.
but
okay.
just want to
okay.
try and
That's-
fit focus.
On public comment.
yeah, I'd just like to say that I wasn't very satisfied with the way the town council, in particular, the town solicitor treated us when we started to make our presentation Monday night. It's very dissatisfying when you watch the town solicitor make snickering comments to the town manager next to him about the hard work that this committee has done. We spent 6 months here working every week we come here for a meeting, and we have several members of it that meet 3 or 4 times a week to get things done, and we got a guy up there laughing at us. I was at the point today of just saying we shouldn't present anything to them because they're gonna laugh at us. They think we're a joke.
be honest with you, I felt that way. But I've since changed my mind. Uh, let's get our job done. I'm glad you voiced your opinion and, maybe it's a message that, it is a lot of work and it's not only what we do in this room, it's what we do at home. So,
For sure.
anything else? If not, a motion to adjourn.
No, you gotta ask the people out there if they wanna.
Oh.
Got a
Excuse
couple of
me.
folks on the phone.
Okay, so we have,
iPhone Kent,
Pauline,
Pauline.
and we have Kent.
Yeah, Chairperson Guthrie, public comment.
Yes,
I sat through that 3-hour Inquisition Monday night. And I would thank the commission for persevering and moving forward in light of what happened Monday night. So, I give you credit for meeting tonight. And I did hear you, you listened to some comments that were made Monday night also, and you're trying to incorporate and perhaps change or fine tune some language to get things hopefully passed. So good luck. Thank you.
thank you, Kent.
You're welcome.
We have Pauline. I don't see a hand up. Brad, do you have anything on the public comment?
Nope, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Before you do that, Scott, that email, just while it's on my mind. The email that you sent about. Not the one that I said that I got, but the other one, term
Okay.
limits. Can you resend that? Cause it's not in my inbox.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Will
That's
do.
all.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. I don't know how to shut that.
And
Yeah.
bottom.
I'll sit over here. There you go.
And then end meeting for all.
Time you